Hey, welcome everybody. It's another SITREP. I'm glad to be here. It's episode 31, September the 2nd. And we've got an amazing guest tonight that everybody might know. We're trying to get him in here. It's Rick Hummer is going to join us today. We're going to talk about some pretty crazy stuff that's in the news. If you guys are listening, you're a part of the resistance. Ian, what are you doing, brother?
Sorry, man. I cut you off.
My Hebrew.
Yeah, ASStroid. That's right, Jason P. There's a little too many S's in that word. But, you know, you get the point, right? You get the point. Hey, Marla, Lee Jackson, Kevin Stoll, Miramir the Red. What's up, bro? MK Ultra Breakdown, Rick Swain, Michael John. Thanks for joining us, guys. We've been off for a couple weeks.
Yeah, we had a lot going on with the conference.
We have lives. No, I'm just kidding. We kind of don't, but we try to. We attempt to. We have responsibility. I guess we should say that. We have responsibility. We don't really have lives, at least not any cool ones. Let me bring Rick in here. I don't know what he's doing. He's messing around.
I'm here.
I know you're here, man. What are you doing with that weird picture on there?
That's right there means I'm not essentially yours.
What is that, American cookie?
It's a part of a baseball cap, I think. I was too close to the camera.
I got you. What's up, man?
Not much. I just got in here, so bear with me. I'm getting set up so I can actually sit down. As you know, we talked earlier today. You know, I was multitasking, so I'm moving everything around. I just got over here. We put the kids to bed late tonight, so I apologize.
I rolled out. I just locked the door. My kids tried to follow me out, and I was like, no. Shut the door on them. So I got you. That's fine. Take your time. We'll talk about other non-essential stuff.
I'm almost here.
No, you're good, man. So anyways, I know a lot of you guys, we were watching the Take on the World conference. I have not posted that special SITREP episode that we did for that. I haven't posted it yet. So, because I had some issues with Facebook. Well, issues with Facebook too, but issues with YouTube due to some of the content in the little movies there.
Yeah.
So it kind of made me angry, and I went and did something. I've already done something, but I went over. So you're going to have to go to BitChute now to see some of the content, because I'm not even going to mess with YouTube, because I got a strike in 4 minutes for hate speech. And when I tried to refute it, they responded. I wrote a paragraph about how it's not hate speech. And I asked them to go back and check, or give me a time when I supposedly did this. And it says on there, due to COVID, expect later than usual reply, right? And normally it takes like a week, maybe longer, depending, right? It took 4 minutes. And they got right back and they were like, denied. So then they also informed me that the laws have changed. And now if I get another strike, we can no longer live stream for 2 weeks. So just go to BitChute, and it's the holy hand grenade on BitChute. So that's the temporary one for right now. But we're going to set up another YouTube account for this show. And we're also going to make it a podcast. That's in the works. So we're going to have a podcast. It should be on all the platforms once we get this situated, because right now we're kind of like not organized enough to make a podcast, because it requires some other different things that we're not willing to do yet. But we're trying to fit that in so that we can adjust to that and get that rolling ready. I mean, get it rolling. And so hopefully that's to come. Yeah, Kevin, you're writing. You're surprised I didn't have any Aaron Russo interviews in that. Dude, I had so much stuff, and it was an hour and a half. I couldn't put even half the stuff in there. So there may be a part 2 on BitChute. I don't know.
There's
so much.
You got to stop doing so much controversial content, man. Like, you got to drink the Kool-Aid and get on board and, censor yourself.
Yeah. Well, it's not that I didn't expect YouTube to do this. It's just annoying, dude. It's just annoying, because I don't know. It's just really annoying that they would because literally, if I get another strike, they take down my Google accounts, and that means my emails and everything, dude. And then I'm not allowed to have one. You know what I mean? That's ridiculous. And there's really nothing we can do about it. That's the sad thing. And then it's just like when everybody right now is there on this kick where they're like, hey, let's leave Facebook. I get it. Let's leave Facebook. Facebook sucks, right? But there is no equivalent. So you go to MeWe, and there's 4 friends on there. Where you guys high-fiving each other and in a private chat, sending memes to each other. I mean, what's the point if you can't? You post something and it goes to your 4 friends. It's we just got to figure out how to sneak it through.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of people talking about bailing from the social media aspect, but I mean, I'm so torn because I don't want to be I don't want them utilizing all of my stuff or being able to cut me off from my photos and videos and all that stuff. So I started downloading all of my old pictures and stuff like that. But I'm so torn at this point. I'm honestly really surprised that I haven't been I've never been banned on Facebook, and I've said some pretty controversial things. But part of the new terms of service. Go ahead.
They're messing with your internet right now, or mine. We're freezing up.
We're freezing up. Yeah. But
this sucks, man. Thanks a lot.
But yeah, man, I don't know, because it sucks because it's like kind of putting your light under a bushel though if you ditch out from Facebook, and then you're not going to continue to reach out to those people that need it. So for some people, that's all their outreach is at this point. So,
yeah. But if you call memeing people an outreach,
well, but I mean, there's you can't knock anything. I mean, because some people, that may have been the only scripture they ever see is through somebody's meme.
Okay, you justified it, right? So if I write John 3:16 with a turd on the sidewalk,
I don't think that
the content. It's completely fine to video that, put it on Facebook, right? Just kidding. Yeah, the mystery of iniquity. That's the one right there, Kevin. Name the video on BitChute. The reality distortion effect, number 14, the mystery of iniquity. And I also put up there the father of the fatherless, father to the fatherless. That's the same one that I showed at the conference as well. I didn't even bother trying to put that on YouTube. It probably won't get kicked off, but.
Did you see I tagged you in that with the Sophie thing that's going on right now?
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch that. What's up with that?
It's this little girl who's, it totally mirrored the father of the fatherless video, because this little girl, her dad is taking her to go court-ordered visit with her mom and her grandma, and the first 10 minutes of it, she's just screaming that she doesn't want to go to her mom's, and then she wouldn't get in the car, and then they finally get her in the car, and they meet up with them, and they're trying to get her out of the seat, and she's screaming and saying, no, I don't want to go, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. And then she talks about how her in that thing that her dad had videotaped, that, and her mom's there and her grandma, and she's like, no, I don't want to go because whoever I can't remember what his name is, but her mother's boyfriend was touching her. And the misbehaving, the whole throwing timber tantrum stuff, dude, it totally mirrored almost to a T the storyline that you put together for the father of the fatherless.
Is this a real?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's real.
It was real footage, or
yeah, it was real footage of the girl. So the dad was taking it to use it in court, to show what this is how she's acting and stuff. When we the court ordered you have to go spend time with your mom, and she absolutely refused. She's 9 years old, but she absolutely refuses to go with him because she doesn't trust her mom. She said that her mom watched while these other men had touched her and stuff, and I mean, it was just terrible, man. And it just totally, when I opened that up and just watched like the first couple minutes of it, I'm like, man, this is exactly like the little girl in the father for the fatherless video. So
yeah, it's upsetting, man. I mean, it's not fun to watch, dude, for sure. But it's real, That's the thing that's, there's a lot of people. The reason I made it mainly is because there's a lot of people that are really on board with this Save the Children stuff. And everybody wants to, post things and hashtag things, but that's not an actual kind of anything, I mean, you get like, I don't know, a point for effort, in spreading the word, but it's not actually being involved in any way, really. So, and I think there's, most people think that trafficking and child abuse and things like that is happening somewhere else, right? But the facts are, it's happening next door to you. For example, I mean, it's really sickening that it's like this, but the average is, I think, 1 in 5 people are sexually abused or physically abused as a child. That's messed up, man. And like, that's even greater odds than autism, and I can vouch for this. I was in one of our small group, and we have a small group of, specifically, we call it the blended families. And it's families where, one or both parties have been divorced and remarried, and they have kids from both marriages involved, right? You've blended 2 different families together. And we wanted to do that specifically just so we had a lot to talk about, do some marriage stuff, but we all have pretty much the same scenario. So we were doing that for a while, and there was 5 couples in it. And we did a week where we talked about abuse and different things. And we did some prayer and some healing from trauma. And it turned out that one person from each couple had been sexually or physically abused as a child. And it's like when you're hearing it, I mean, we hear the statistics, and it just kind of goes in one ear and goes out the other, and you're like, man, that's really bad. But then when you're sitting in a room with people that and you're finding out like it's true, and that 5 people in a room full of 10 people have been sexually abused as a kid, you're like, this is insane, because you wouldn't know unless they told you, right? I had no idea until they told us when we were doing that. But I just wanted to make something, that it's not even really about sexual abuse, but what it is it shows the breakdown of the family and how it causes so much trauma to a child, and how, your vices as a parent, either makes or breaks your children. And it's like, that's something that we can all take part in fixing right now. And it's man up, take responsibility, and be a parent to your children, and actually be involved in their life. Right. And then also, you have neighbors, you have, family and friends that, maybe you go to church with them, or whatever, be involved in their life and be aware that what you see on the outside is not always what's going on, Yep. Just doing that kind of stuff can like, if you are there for a child and what you're looking at when you see, an abusive situation, I mean, then you could begin to intercede on that child's behalf, be an advocate for them. You know what I mean? And that right there can cut down on a lot of this stuff, because most people, when you listen to a lot of victims, even satanic ritual abuse, it's most of the time it's done by family members.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that's something else that ties back to our mission 242.
Right.
You have to have relationships with these people. I'm not telling you to be the nosy prying neighbor, but you have to have relationships with these people and get involved and bring them, your friends, your family members, your neighbors, that kind of stuff, and get on a personal relationship with them. Because the only way that's going to save these kids, because I see a lot of people, I'm part of the Save the Children group in my state, and that's what everybody keeps asking. Well, what's the hashtag going to do? The government's not doing what they're saying they're going to do, and we're hashtagging. What's the real fix for this? Well, the real fix is only through breaking the curses through the Messiah. I mean, most of these people who offend or who molest children were molested themselves, and so the only way to get past that is to break those generational curses. And
it's the same for violence too. I mean, there was a neighbor of mine that we were laying some gravel driveway, and he had his he had a dump truck and all this stuff. He lived next door to me, and we didn't know each other until this, but we met each other at a yard sale. We had a yard sale. They came over. We were talking to him, got to know him. He was like, "Hey, I'll lay your driveway for free. I got a bunch of gravel back there. I'll bring it over and lay it for free. No big deal." I'm like, cool. We became kind of buddies, friends, right? Neighbor friends, right? Then I witnessed him pretty much verbally, like, just tearing up his child. His son was 6, and he was treating him like he was some kind of adult scumbag drug addict, like just belittling him. The things he was, dude, it was awful, man. It made me super uncomfortable, and I actually called him out on it. But he said, "Oh, he's got to be a man. He'll be fine. My dad did it to me. It's how I was raised, right? And I made it fine. Look at me." And I just thought, man, that's like so typical, right? Like they don't know that there's anything wrong with them until someone tells them, right? It's like, hey, I grew up fine. This is what happened to me. And that's, you've heard the people talk about this before. You may not have heard it in that way. They say stuff like, well, Italians are just, alcoholics, or Irish are alcoholics. Italians just love to fight, or, you know what I mean? Or whatever it is. Like, oh, this is just in my blood. Well, it's only in your blood because it's a curse, and you accept it. You could be free from that. So if no one's ever told them that, they just accept it as like it's part of their lot in life. We lie all the time. That's my family's thing. We're just a bunch of liars, or we're a bunch of drug addicts, or, my wife's family is a bunch of, they're a bunch of, well, for sure liars. And, I don't know. There's a whole bunch of stuff, but, she used to say stuff to me when we first got together, like, that's just how we are. It's just how my family is. Like, no, that's not how it's, it ain't going to stay like that.
You don't have to be like that.
Yeah, we're not going to stay like that. And she gets that now, but no one ever told her, you know what I mean? No one ever told her that. And that's the problem with a lot of Christians, man. We're the only ones that can change this world. And we're too afraid to say anything or speak up or put ourselves in an uncomfortable position or even be turned down, even though it's because we've been believing lies about, ourselves and the authority that we have. We don't know who we are. And so if we did, we'd be pretty bold about the authority that we carry and the power. And, like, for example, man, if you went out and you started praying for people and you started seeing miraculous healings, you would lead with that the next time. You know what I mean? And then as you do this more and more, you just be like, there's no doubt in my mind that you could be healed from this. Like, what is that when the leper comes up to Jesus and he says, if you, or I saw you walk by, and I know that he's like, you could heal me if you wanted to. I forget where this is, and Jesus said, I want to be whole. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. It's like, man, he told us to go and do this stuff, man. And we're like, yeah, I don't know, but I'm gonna wear the mask and go to the grocery store. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I've seen that a lot from, and I've even experienced it myself. Is you have the faith that God can do it, but you don't have the faith that God can do it through you. You know,
Yeah.
like, I believe that there are miracles out there and God can do whatever he wants. But then when it comes to you, we're kind of caught up in like, you know, our carnal sins. What do we do today? Is God going to use me? And then you're afraid to step out in faith because you don't have the confidence, because you don't know what what you're called to be, where you stand in the kingdom, you know. So I think we're hesitant just because of that.
And that's shame too. We feel the shame. The enemy shames us like, hey, there is healing, but not through you. You're not worth it, right? Like, you don't carry that. You messed up. You did all these things, right? I mean, that's the same thing that keeps the deep state, you know, shame. And once they've committed the sin and someone's got them, no matter how big or small initially, they're held captive. Like, man, if you don't follow the rules, somebody's going to find out about this, and you don't. That won't look good, right? And then they eventually get comfortable, and they start doing heavier because they're like, I'm trapped anyways, right? The defeatism, the hopelessness, right? The hope deferred. Plus, you know, yeah, it's a vicious cycle, man, for sure. You know, I don't blame any of these guys. I blame them because they need to take responsibility for their actions. But, you know, like we said a couple episodes ago, at any point, you're on the verge right now of making the worst decision of your life. Like, this next decision that you make could change your life drastically for the worse. And it's in a moment, you know? And so it's very hard to try to be conscious of everything that you do all the time. So I totally understand. Like, I think we should show a little more grace to these people, you know, because, you know, we're praying for them. That's the thing, right? Are we not praying for them? I mean, pray for our enemies. Or are they like, because they're deep state or they're politicians, we just think, oh, they made their bed. You know, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be punished, but can they be saved? You know? Do we tell them that they can be saved? Or are they just like, well, God he won't mess with them. They're bad. You know, can a child molester be saved? Can he be saved? You know, that's a tough question. Do you want him to be saved or can he be saved? Right. You know, those are two different things. I don't know, man. I don't know how we started talking about child molesters. So this is supposed to be about asteroids.
Yeah. Is Rick here? Is he back there?
Rick's probably.
Oh yeah, no, I've been listening. This is great. I'm letting you guys go, man. This is your guys' show. I'm like, all right, this is good.
No, you can jump in anytime. This is
Oh, you guys had that part handled. That was all good. I didn't want to jump in on anything that
there he is.
You guys have touched base on before, yeah. So, not to change subjects on that, but you know, the psychological damage that's being done on the children right now with the masks, the whole announcement of this is the new normal, the whole BLM fiasco with the fascism coming into full play. I mean, all this stuff is so, it's overboard at this point. I mean, today we just went to, my daughter had softball practice tonight. She's doing fall ball, which is more like a softball camp. And I saw the park director there and I asked him flat out, I'm like, so now that the CDC came out and said that, you know, they were wrong on 96% of the numbers, are you guys going to continue on with this? Like, you can only have 3 spectators come in with each player. Like, if grandma and grandpa want to come in and watch, I mean, they're not allowed to come in with the family. And he's like, well, we're going to comply with the law. I'm like, there is no law.
Right.
Well, it's a mandate. Well, but that's not a law. I mean, you can't see through this. You can't see what's going on. I mean, okay, I said, well, wait a minute. But the CDC admitted that they were wrong. We've caught the media lying. Are you guys going to stand up to this or not? And I think a lot of people are just afraid. I think they're completely afraid. And cowardice. I mean, just complete. It's. We're not the home of the brave. I can tell you that.
You know, and that's the thing. I'm so like, this whole thing blows my mind because I was just thinking about this earlier today. I'm like, we're the same. You know, my generation is the same people that grew up on South Park and Eminem And they're so afraid to offend anybody or be offended at this point. I'm like, what happened? Like, did you just hit a point in your life where like something just went off in your head and now you're offended by everything? Because 90s, I mean, 70s, 80s, 90s, I mean, you pretty much could get away with anything. And now it's just like everybody is just off their rocker. But yeah, my son, I had to sit down with him because when we went to Michigan, Ian and I went on a kind of little vacation trip. We were walking through one of the gas stations on the way up there. And of course, I'm not scared to not wear a mask. I'm 6'2", 6'3", 270 pounds. Nobody's even bothered to try to say anything to me. But
you have a Viking haircut.
Yeah.
You have leather straps in your freaking hair. They're not saying anything to you.
I've thought of like a million different things to say to people if they would say something to me, and they've never said it to me. But my son was walking around with his like this. I'm like, what are you doing? So his mom's a nurse in Indianapolis, and she had gotten COVID at one point in time. It lasted for 10 days, and then she was, fine. But she continues to make the boys wear masks, and then she takes them to school and they make them wear masks. And he literally was feeling uncomfortable not wearing a mask in public. And I'm like, Bram, you've literally been alive for 9 years, 8 years of that. You have never had to wear a mask. Just over the last 3 or 4 months, you've had to wear a mask, and now you feel uncomfortable. I'm like, that's just crazy. Have you thought about that? And I had to literally sit down with him. I mean, it's crazy that literally like that. We're going to be dealing with this psychologically for quite a while with the children.
It's going to get worse. Check this out. So yesterday, my grandpa is terminal, man, and we went over to visit him last night, and my aunts were there. My aunts are teachers, and they were saying that they got this brand new school building this year. Okay, it's huge. And it's elementary. Okay. So one of the things she said was one of the rules for the new building is no parents are allowed in. Mm. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is kindergarten through like 6th grade. Okay. No parents are allowed in. So they didn't even do the orientation walkthrough. They literally had the first day of school, kids getting bussed in there or parents dropping them off. Parents aren't allowed out of the car, period. They open the door. They have teachers that come and assist your children to the door. And then they're all wearing masks.
Yeah.
You know how scary that would be for a kindergartner or first grader walking into this huge school they're not familiar at all. Big open hallways, and
Antifa's there waiting for you.
Yeah, Antifa's waiting for you. The drinking fountain's not even. Why would you put drinking fountains in a school and then say, we're never going to use these because of COVID? You know what I mean? It's like, dude, there's so many things about this and you can't, like, their lunchroom is like, she showed us a picture of it. It's like tables every 20 feet. You know what I mean? But they're little round tables and there's like 5 chairs.
You know what? It's flat out stupidity.
It is.
It's just stupid. The whole thing is just stupid. It's dumb. It ticks me off. It makes me mad that people haven't done their own research. It shows the apathy. And, it's like I talked to a buddy of mine today. I called him because I'm like, what's it going to take? What's it going to take for people to wake up to this? And the answer is for them to shut off their televisions, for Christians, for those who claim the blood of Jesus Christ, to actually do what he says to do, and that's to test all the things, to test everything. It's so bad that there's a member in my family that asked me day before yesterday if all I do is analyze things. I'm like, what do you mean? All I do is analyze things.
You don't just what the voices tell you.
Yeah, don't you ever? It's basically why don't you just come out and say, don't you ever just go with the flow and not buck the system? And it's like, no, I don't. Not any longer.
Is that a bad answer?
I used to be the guy that was actually pushing all this stuff. I was the guy that was telling you on the radio what was cool and what wasn't, and forming your opinion on music. I can't tell you guys how many times I've said this before in interviews. How many times we would get a record handed to us by the program director that was basically saying, "Well, we need to play this record. We need to play this record. We need to play this record." For what? It's terrible. It's one of the worst things I've ever heard. But within 3 weeks of playing this record over and over and over again and getting that rotation up to an hour, and once it plays every hour and 15 minutes, that's how the A rotators work in radio. Before you know it, people are calling requesting it. And it was a crap song. And people are going to call and request it. Why? Because the DJs pushed it. Because it was all about the marketing. It's all about, and it's the same thing with the media. All the mask nonsense. Today at lunch, there was a local reporter that was on the air in front of the mall here locally in Mishawaka, Indiana, talking about all of the stores closing. What is she doing? Wearing a mask. She's outside.
Right.
It's just dumb. And so as I'm talking to this buddy of mine out east, it was David Weiss. I've been talking to Dave a lot. And I told Dave, I said, what's it going to take, man? I said, I think I've got an idea. I said, and I put this on Facebook months ago when this all started. And anybody that wants to go back, look at my Facebook post from day one, I was saying this is not going to be a pandemic. There are other Christians, I won't say any names, but there are other well-known Christians, flat earthers, whatever you want to call it, that were telling people that God told him that this was going to be it. This is millions of people. Don't go outside. Do this. This guy made phone calls to people. He was part of this. He was part of the whole nonsense. And I started typing this stuff on Facebook going, there's not going to be a pandemic. First of all, look up the definition of pandemic. You can't call something a pandemic until it's over with and you compare the numbers. That's what a pandemic is. That's how it gets labeled a pandemic, is after it's over with and you look at the stats. While it's happening, it's an epidemic.
Right.
And so the media itself was already reporting things falsely. And so as I was talking to Dave, I said, I know what we need to do. I posted this a long time ago, but I think we need to do this. He goes, what's that? I go, occupy the media. Bombard the local news directors, every news director at every single station across the country, in Canada, in the United States, in Australia. And Australia right now, I don't know if you guys saw this today or not, but there's a pregnant mom who was just posting some things about.
I watched that.
Dude.
Yeah.
She didn't even have the event yet.
No, and they were saying she was inciting violation of the lockdown.
Yeah.
My
arrested
question,
her for
Australia,
future crimes.
Well, here's my question, Australia. Are you guys going to start teaching your kids Chinese this week? Because you might as well. You might as well. And Americans, you might want to start getting that as well. You might want to go ahead and get that Rosetta Stone and get Chinese. And if I were you, I'd get the dialect that they speak in Beijing. You might as well, because that's what's coming. And get rid of the stuff over my shoulder here. Get rid of all the patriotic stuff. And the whole reason why this is even back here, so you guys know, this back here is part of the studio that we're doing some other work in. But it's funny because somebody asked me the other day. I was talking to somebody. They said, "What's the deal with the astronaut stuff, man? I didn't think you believed." I'm like, "No, it's a costume, just like the other ones. It's a costume. It's a costume." And you know, if we don't actually start taking a look at what's going on, it's going to be over, guys. And I'm telling you the truth. And that's what's coming. And people think it's funny. They think it's a big joke. They think that it's funny. Well, I'll tell you what, it's not funny anymore. It's not funny anymore to me. And, you know, there are certain things that have happened. I know that God has removed idols. He's, the Most High, he's removed so many idols from people's lives. But at this point in time where we're at right now, if people do not stand up from a political standpoint, from a constitutional standpoint, the rights that you actually you supposedly have, you might want to start exercising those rights instead of being so lackadaisy, like, oh, we're following the law. Well, it's not a law. Well, it's a mandate. I'm going to follow the mandate. Why? Why are you following a mandate that treads on your constitutional right? Why are you complying with this? Because here's what's happened. America is not about morals anymore. It hasn't been for a long time. It's about conforming. We have a bunch of conformists, not moralists any longer. We have a bunch of weaklings, not speaklings. We are afraid to actually speak up and do what's right and stand up and stand your ground. We're so worried about what everybody else thinks of us, not worried about what the Most High thinks of us. And there's no fear of God. There's no wisdom. To fear the Lord is the beginning of all wisdom. When people don't have a fear of God, like you were saying, Ian, when you're talking about, we're supposed to stand up and do something. I want to pull this up, and this is maybe a good transition to go into what we're going to be talking about. But in Matthew 28:19-20, it says, "Go ye therefore, teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Ghost, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. Amen." Now, who's he talking to there? His disciples? Yes. If he says to go out, teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Ghost, teaching them to observe, pay attention, all things whatsoever I have commanded you. He's saying it. I'm telling you, go do these things. And lo, don't worry about it. Whoa. I'm with you always, even unto the end of the world. All right. So what did he have those guys do? What was he telling his disciples to go do? Because in Matthew 10, it says, "And he had called unto him his 12 disciples. He gave them power against unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal all manner of sickness, and all manner of disease." What did the churches do during COVID? They shut down. You know why? Because they're weaklings, not speaklings. Now, the names of the 12 disciples, we know all them. I'm not going to go through all that. That's verse 2, 3, and 4. It even mentions Judas. But these 12 disciples, Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, "Go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as ye go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick." That's what you were talking about earlier, Ian. Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out devils. Freely ye have received, freely ye give, or freely give. Provide neither gold, nor silver, nor brass in your purses, nor scrip for your journey. Don't even plan it out, basically. Neither two coats, neither shoes, nor yet staves, for the workman is worthy of his meat. How many people can say they're doing that? I cannot say that I'm doing what Matthew 10 is actually saying. So I'm just as guilty. I'm as guilty as anybody else. And this is something that I've told people before in the last 10, 15 years. You should read Matthew 10. It really means a lot. Hello. United States of apathy. Here I am. And it says it keeps on going. It says, he talks about going into somebody's house. If it's not worth it, don't worry about it. Let it go. Your peace will return back to you if they don't get it. But when you come to one of those houses, salute it. Treat them with respect. And it says, "Verily I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city." And people think it's bad now.
Yeah.
They think it's bad now. Wait till you can't turn on your faucet in a city and get water. See how long that lasts. See how long it goes. See if you get to hour 72 without water or being able to flush your toilet.
Well, I've been drinking my urine just to prepare. I'm just doing it to prepare, man.
Me too. I've got a full cup of it.
Yeah. You see, urine therapy. Okay, guys? Urine therapy.
All right. I thought I was weird for looking into coffee enemas today, but now you guys beat me on that.
Wrong channel, man. You need to go to Through the Black.
But guys, here's the thing. Here's the other thing. Let me say this. He does say this. He says, "Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves." So he's giving you the game plan. He's telling you this is what's going to be like. You're a sheep. You're going to go in there. They're going to be wanting to rip you apart. And he says, "Be ye therefore wise as serpents, gentle as doves, and harmless as doves. But beware of men, for they're going to deliver you up to the councils." Hence Australia today. Somebody saw that post and turned her in. And of course, the government's actually giving people the incentive to turn others in. Sounds like Germany to me. Sounds like Rome to me. But beware, they're going to deliver you up to the councils, and they'll scourge you in their synagogues. They're gonna say the worst of worst about people that are actually doing the will of the Father, even in the synagogues, even in the buildings of worship. This is the time that we're in now. I believe it. And you'll be brought before governors and kings for my name's sake, or for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles. But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what ye shall speak, for it shall be given to you in that same hour what ye shall speak. So if we don't have the faith that we're on a major testing ground right now, like never before. And I don't think that any of us saw this coming. Back in December, I can tell you right now, I was telling people something's not right. I feel like something's about to pop. Something's not right. I could feel it. I felt it in November. I saw it happen. I saw people were supposed to be brothers betraying other brothers, and things were going back and forth. And I just saw a lot of weird stuff going on and the spirit moving. And I can tell you this, that you're not going to have to worry about being put to death. In other words, you're losing your life. If you don't realize that you've already lost your life, if people don't realize that their white picket fence has turned into prison bars, and it's just a matter of time, then, there's nothing I can do about it. So be it. But all we can do is pray for the Father's will. The other thing I want to say is that if it does turn around and they do open the doors up, the system that we're in now, or I should say the system that we were in, the system that's coming, it may hold a ton of promises. It may hold a ton of guarantees. They may be telling you peace and safety, peace and safety, peace and safety over and over again. But I guarantee you're not going to be able to say that the only way to the kingdom is through the blood of Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach. I guarantee you that's what's coming. Guarantee you that he is going to, that they already say he's offensive. I mean, they're already pulling out one nation under God's being pulled out. They go one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice. They're already doing this. They're already opening up town hall meetings with the satanic prayer. Yeah. They've already pulled the 10 Commandments out of courthouses and put up statues of Baphomet.
You have BLM attacking churches because of the white Jesus.
What else do we need to see? What else needs to happen before people get woke up? And I don't think they're going to wake up, because I honestly believe that the scripture says that I will send a strong delusion, that if it were possible, even the very elect could be deceived. I'm already seeing it happen. I've already seen preachers get deceived on this. I've seen it. I've seen people who have their entire YouTube channel based off of truth fall for the lies. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Let me tell you something. I don't know if you guys knew about this or not. My wife informed me today that California just passed a law. This is, so you know how I said
about the pedophilia?
Yeah. Did you see that?
Yes.
Yes, SR 145.
You got to be freaking dry humping me, dude. It is like insane. We're watching nutty stuff happen. We think that pedophiles are going to get justice when they just changed the law in California to you can have sex with a minor as long as you're within 10 years of their age.
Yeah. And that'll be up to a judge whether or not they make
I lost both of you guys. I think I'm the only one on the show right now.
we lagging out here.
Oh man. You're paused on my end, Rick.
We've said the P word too many times.
You ain't kidding. Dude, nothing problems anymore on this stupid channel. Just kidding, guys. I'm not giving up. Who wants to go down to the headquarters with me next week and deliver a package? Just kidding. Rick's going to jump back in here. He's having problems. He paused. Oh, man.
We lose him.
I agree with that. Incarnate Unlimited. Destiny Lab is awesome. We should hijack MTV with Destiny Lab. Yeah. Yep. Jeremiah Dirt as well. Jeremiah Dirt in there.
Did he drop out altogether?
Yeah, he dropped out. He's gonna hit that. He'll probably hit the link again. I don't know what he's doing, but you know how he is. He's on his own time. When he gets back here, we will talk about asteroids, because guys, we've already laid the groundwork for this, and you will be pleasantly surprised with the next part. for the show.
No, we're losing Ian.
So you're back.
I'm back.
And now
Did you guys go down, or was that me?
Yeah, I think it was you.
Typical.
The Ian's
It's all right,
lagging
man.
a little
We
bit.
don't really know.
It's
I'm lagging. You're lagging.
So am I.
Yeah. We could all do audio real quick.
We'll just push through.
Here,
We gotta get the-
I'll leave and I'll come back again. I don't know what's going on. I know what's going on. I know what's going on. This happens
What's going on?
It happens every time it happens every time I'm on a show, man. And it never did. It didn't break up on us one time today when we were talking.
Nobody even knows who you are, Rick.
I don't care. It's a spiritual thing, dude. Hold on.
Second heaven stuff, man. The devil knows who I am. Yeah, he's funny, man. I don't know what the deal is, to be honest with you, but I am getting fairly upset about just a lot of issues that we're having lately. Probably just a phase. All right. Well, this time we're keeping it for keeps right now. So we're about to go into something here. We've already pretty much talked about COVID, and we've talked about, the way that people are reacting, the way that we think people should have reacted or, should react right now. When's it going to end, right? Well, we all know, we can all pretty much agree that from the very beginning, the lockdown, everything else, this is not about COVID. We're all thinking this is phase one. What's phase two? Is it another virus? Is it a deadlier virus? There's something. This doesn't even seem right that they would go through all this trouble, right? And especially now, why hold to the lie when the numbers are so far off? I mean, we're talking 96% lie. Like that is, that's hardcore, man. That's not a little lie, but they're still holding on to it. So what is going on? Our Ohio governor tested positive and negative in the same day, and we are still under lockdown. So, it's like, and you bring that up and they're like, yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. But that's like, that was the day I thought it was going to be over. I literally showed up to work the next day. Like, I'm not trying to wear this mask. And they're like, no, we're still wearing masks. I'm like, dang, even though our governor tested positive and negative in the same day. They're like, yeah, I don't know what that's about, but yeah, we haven't heard anything. It's like, okay, everyone's a moron. But here's the
that'd be a great T-shirt.
Everyone's a moron?
No, I tested positive and negative on the same day.
Yeah,
governor.
Hey, did I tell you about what I thought was what we were looking at with this whole mask thing as it's progressed, as they get the vaccine rolled out, is that they're going to basically give you the alternative for the rest of us who choose not to wear a mask. It's either going to be get the vaccine or wear the mask. And it's almost going to be like the Jewish Star and the concentration camps, because the people who are going to take the vaccine are going to take the vaccine no matter what. They're completely invested in all of what CNN tells them. But those of us that don't have the choice, because they've already came out. I mean, I saw this back with the anti-vaxxer pages where people were coming out. They already had this rolled out years ago with the anti-vaxxers. They were the people who are outside of the anti-vax community were attacking anti-vaxxers and saying your kids are going to get my kids sick, and it's your little germ carrying kids, when it was the complete opposite. It's if you were getting the vaccination, you were the one that was carrying and shedding, and you're blaming the kids who are unvaxxed. And I saw that same thing kind of start happening with everybody wearing the masks. And so what I'm looking at, and I'm saying, okay, so they'll give us the opportunity to choose between taking the vaccination or wearing the mask. And then what they'll do is we'll see some kind of false flag event with somebody wearing a mask, and they'll ban all masks. So they'll give you the opportunity to choose, but then they'll make it illegal at some point and then force everyone, to move into the vaccination side. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. And the reason why I see this is because of everything I saw. I see it in the secular, everything I saw in V for Vendetta. And the same guy who created V for Vendetta also created the Watchmen series, which is all about the superhero laws, which they couldn't wear masks. They banned it, and then the police officers got to wear masks, and then they took it away from the police officers. I mean, everything is in there. I don't recommend the Watchmen Amazon series, but was it Amazon? I think it was Amazon. But everything's in there. They have police officers that have to radio in to if it's to use their gun. Somebody on the other end has to approve them to be able to use lethal force. All the police officers are wearing masks. I mean, everything was set up.
They're wearing a mask because people threaten them, so the cops need anonymity so that they don't get attacked. Which is, it's like everything gets reversed. It is nuts, man. And I'm down with that. I think that you're right on the money with all that stuff, dude. And I think they've been showing us for a while, right? That's how it is. I think just like 96% of their facts were lies, I think 96% of their movies are true. And the news is a lie. Did you get to watch the new Greenland trailer I was telling you about? Because that leads right into No, but check this out. I didn't watch it, but I saw you sent it to me. I was talking to Rick, and I'm telling Rick about what we're about to talk about if we ever talk about it. And Rick's like, hey, man, you ever see this trailer for this new movie? I'm like, dude, Aaron said that when I was telling him about this. I haven't watched the trailer yet, but, I'm going to have to check it out for sure.
It's crazy, man.
Check this out. So we're talking about COVID, right? Anyways, I'm listening to a show, and I hear this guy talking about something that was very intriguing. He's saying that there is an asteroid that's they say there is let's see what this article up here says, a non-zero, an asteroid. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Oh, my screen just.
Dude, I bumped the mic. Sorry. Yeah, I'm still here.
No, my screen blacked out. So hang on a second. I didn't know what was happening.
There was so many difficulties today.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's okay. It's a good thing this isn't a professional show.
This is a international business tech magazine or whatever, news article. Asteroid with a non-zero probability of hitting the Earth in September, detected by the European Space Agency. Right?
Wait. What was the probability?
Non-zero.
Non-zero.
Yeah, that's like trying to make things more complicated for morons, right? Like they add extra words in there that make no sense.
What is that? What does that mean?
That means a 1% probability, or if any percent. A non-zero means anything, right? I mean,
non-zero means at least a chance.
Yeah, there's a chance. There's something because it's a non-zero. It's just who writes this stuff, right? I guess Globers, but that was a low blow.
The SI's catching up.
But so listen, they say ESA, which is European Space Agency, detected an asteroid that has a non-zero probability of hitting Earth. In 2018, the SV-13 is currently featured on their risk list, and it is going to cause a powerful mid-air explosion. This I did not remember when I was telling you this earlier. So it's not even called to hit the Earth. It's called to break up an atmosphere, but explode inside the atmosphere, and they describe it as like multiple nukes in midair.
Oh,
well, I don't even know how a rock explodes. Right, like,
and how do they determine this? How did they come up with this science?
So the same guy that said it was a non-zero probability came up with this. But it says here the asteroid was most likely will burn up in our atmosphere and produce a powerful explosion in the sky. Unfortunately, the airburst could be very dangerous. Okay, based on this thing's size, it'll be equivalent to multiple atomic bombs in the air, which to me. That sounds like EMP.
Dude, exactly. It's they're giving you it's almost Hegelian dialectic here.
Exactly.
So they're telling you what's going to happen, but none of us have seen it on the telescope. They're giving us what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just stupid.
Listen, here, check this out. It says, okay, so SV-13, the chances of hitting Earth depend on various factors in space, such as gravitational pull of large cosmic objects, which doesn't exist. These objects, such as planets and moons, can nudge the asteroid into a collision course with Earth. When is the last time? Okay, so they say that large objects have their own gravitational pull. When is the last time that anyone has ever seen a big object drag a small object to it? It's not. It doesn't exist. They only say it exists when it comes to cosmology and planets and stuff.
And magnets.
Magnet. Well, yeah. You see a big magnet. Bring a small magnet. Okay. All right. So look at this. This is an article from August 30th. Okay. The European Space Agency scrubs the near Earth orbit or near Earth. What the heck is NEO? What does that mean? Near Earth
orbit object.
Near NEO asteroids September 22nd close approach data altogether, and this raises red flags. So they scrub the entire thing. Okay. They also made a war game or a scenario based around this thing in 2017 that this thing would hit. They forecasted it for this date. They put out a 3-year game, like war game strategy or drill or whatever you call it, that was supposed to end on the 22nd. Now they scrub the data. That seems kind of fishy, right? If it has a non-zero chance and then they scrub the data, what's that telling us, right? So let me show you something though, because I want to show you something. I didn't have it ready, so I'm going to pull it up real quick. But I believe they are doing magic. All right. Rick, do you have anything to say about this while I'm trying to pull this up? What do you think about celestial things? What do you think about astrological magic?
Well, who's the prince of the air? Say
Louis Cipher?
Yeah, Louis Ucifer. Well, look, here's the deal. We've got an adversary. The adversary is the one that showed up at the garden. He's also the one that's not standing inside a burning lake of fire right now with a little pitchfork and little plastic horns on his head going, hey, I got you all now. He's still out doing his thing. And, as far as the people that believe in a biblical cosmology, especially those that believe in a biblical cosmology, but yet they don't believe in Yeshua, they're just at risk of all of this coming to pass and getting fooled for a lot of this stuff, not necessarily asteroids, but some of the other stuff that's going to happen. And, one of the things that I can tell you is that, when you look at this, I had dry erase board, I was going to draw something, but what do I do with it? But what you asked me, what I think of this, I think for a fact that they've been saying space is real. They've been using moon landings. They've been using rockets. They've been using story after story after story. During the COVID nonsense, they released footage of UFOs that, oh gosh, back in the 60s, they didn't release anything. Back in the 50s, they didn't release anything. In the 70s, they didn't release anything. 80s, 90s, 2000, but boy, oh boy, 2020 comes along. We released all these videos of all these UFOs that our military's captured. Why not? It's the time. And here's the thing. If you can't see what's going on, you've watched way too much Netflix. You better humble yourself. I may come off as a jerk tonight. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm trying to, be honest as much as I possibly can. That guys, whether or not you want to believe it, you are tied to a railroad. You are tied to the tracks. You have been asleep. There is a train coming. The people that are trying to wake you up have been trying for a long time, and you've been yelling at them or kicking and screaming, saying, leave me alone. I'm just trying to take a nap here. And they're trying to point to you. There's a train coming, and you still tell them to be quiet. And the train is standing before your father, your real father, if you even get that far. I mean, that's the thing, is you better understand that there is a judgment coming. Everybody that's watching this, you will take your last breath someday. I believe that. I truly believe that. I don't think any of us are going to escape, quote unquote, death the way that we believe. You're going to end up, that soul of who you are is going to leave that body, that shell that you're in. You're going to get a new one someday. They're going to go through it somehow. You're going to have to. Show me in the Bible where it says you can keep the old body. Show me that. Somebody show me where you get to keep this body, this shell that you're in right now, that you get to keep that for eternity. Sooner or later, you're getting extracted out of this thing. Sooner or later, it's going to happen. And whether it happens while you're in the kingdom or not, the bottom line is you're not going to get to the kingdom if you don't know the truth. If you don't know the real truth of this and how this all relates from Genesis all the way to Revelation. If you don't see that, if you don't understand that, man, there's a huge deception on the way. And it's already in play. It's been in play. There's a huge deception. So if they're telling us that an asteroid's coming in, and they're telling us, oh, this is big rock coming, it's this and that, it's this and that. Even all these craters that they're saying came from rocks, how do you know that didn't come from the bottom up? How do you know that when they say they find meteorites that they don't, how do you know? Were you there? All this, I don't believe anything when they say science any longer, guys. I don't, until they show me the data and everything, how they got there. I mean, look behind me. You look back here, and depending on the lens and where it's at, it's a flat horizon at 120,000 feet.
Yeah, let me tell you something. So when you go to what I'm talking about, Renaissance astrology,
yeah,
and like the astrological magic, stuff like that, celestial magic or magical astrology concerns itself with the middle world, that of the zoetical powers, which are universal archetypes of reality and control the generation and corruption of all things in the material realm. All right, so as above, so below. That's what that means. Okay. So let me show you something here, because when we talk about space, okay, why is space controlled and run through the naval intelligence? Okay. What's up with that? Aaron, you want
why the Navy? Why the Navy, guys? Why the Navy?
Yeah. Why does the Navy control space? And I mean, I know there's a Space Force, okay, but they don't actually do anything yet. However, the interesting thing about Space Force that Trump created is the director of it is also the director of Northcom. Okay, so Northern Command. In the continuity of government, Northcom would be the president if something were to happen. So this dude that he just set up as the Space Force commander, I believe his name is what is his name? Something, I don't know. I'll have to look him up maybe if I want to. I don't think I want to. But anyways, he's the head of Northern Command, right? And he's also the head of the Space Command for the Air Force. Anyways, when they say space, it's like a big joke on us, right? There's so many reasons why this is so much BS when they talk about space, but they literally I've lost my train of thought. So interesting. There's the FEMA continuity of government plan. They have all these scenarios and things that they do.
You're making a point about the Navy.
Yeah, the Navy. So why is the Department of the Navy in charge of, or Naval Intelligence in charge of space and all that stuff, right?
Maybe because they know. Maybe because the Navy deals with water.
Yeah,
okay? And for the most part, obviously they do have some planes, but maybe they know because there's water above.
Yeah,
and maybe that's what they're playing around with.
Hey, also check this out. Do you know the national time is controlled, or well, let's see. Let me pull this up real quick. The timekeeper, what is that? The Naval Observatory. Timekeeper. Let's see here. The master clock, right? The U.S. Naval Observatory master clock. That is where the vice president lives. Okay. And inside the bunker, beneath his residence, there is the master clock. Let's see here.
This is where Pence lives?
Yes. Pence lives in the Naval Observatory. The master clock. Okay. Sets time for the world. All right. The U.S. Naval Observatory.
I thought the sun and the moon, I thought they did that.
No, listen though. So I'm getting somewhere with this, right? Let me go back and read what I just read. Celestial magic, magical astrology concerns itself with the middle world. That's the second heaven, okay? That of the zoetical powers, which are universal archetypes of reality and control the generation and corruption of all things in the material realm. Now, in order for astrology,
Ian, hold that thought. Sorry to bother you there. Sorry to stop you, but again, you said that's where you said that this is the middle realm is where?
The second heaven.
Okay, so they're not. So even though they're talking about down below, they're not talking about what could quite possibly be the chambers below us, right?
No, this is talking about in the celestial part, the middle world. They call the space world the middle world.
Okay, gotcha. That's what I was wondering.
It's the second heaven. In the scriptures, it refers to it as the second heaven. All right, the spirit.
All right. Sorry, I'm with you. I thought maybe they were going with a hollow earth thing there for a second. Sorry.
No.
Keep going.
So what I'm getting to here is astrology. Okay, so all these magicians, they believe in astrology. Everyone does, right? People are getting their stuff read. They're, all this crap. They all believe in the charting the stars and all that stuff. Well, if you believe in astrology is only works because it's flat. Astrology bases everything off the planes of existence. So this is the earth plane. That is the middle plane. Right? And there is a third plane, right? There's an astral plane. There's all these different planes, but they're planes, right? So, even they may not even know that. But the fact that they're charting the stars and they call it a plane, it's out there. But in Genesis, the Lord says that these things are in there for times and seasons, right?
Right.
So there's some type of clock. And I just find it fascinating that the Navy is in charge of space intelligence and the master clock, the timekeepers. Okay. So if you can control someone's time, you control reality. Okay. So
what are they going to do? Are they going to have a Project Joshua?
What do you mean? I don't know what you mean. I'm not following you.
Are they going to try and stop time? They're going to try and stop the sun and the moon?
Well, dude, if you think about this, I don't think so. They don't have to. They can cause the illusion. So if they can literally stop a clock for 5 minutes and then restart it, we've lost 5 minutes, but we don't even know we have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there's no this is what I'm kind of getting at here is like Mandela effect type stuff. We don't necessarily understand what's happening, but they do, right? And it's simple. They control our reality.
Hacking our reality.
Inside of this dome is the only place time exists. And it says that the enemy would seek to change times and seasons, right?
Seasons, yeah. That's true.
They are trying to keep they are controlling our reality, right? That's the whole thing. Looking glass, all these different things. They're using magic. They're trying to forecast things onto the earth, right? From the heavens. They're mirroring them on Earth. Like when they say Mars, what they're talking about is war. So when they're saying we're going to have a mission to Mars or we're pushing Mars, they're pushing
to war.
They're pushing into war. And they're doing magic for war. Let me show you this real quick. So what I was going to show you is they love gematria.
I'm with you.
They love gematria. Okay, the English language was built around it. Now, it's when you're talking magic, you've heard of casting a spell. Well, that has everything to do with language. Okay, the language itself is spelling. Okay, there's so much magic involved in our language. But so let me show you this here. I'm going to screen share over here. I want to show you this simple gematria calculator. But look at this. Okay. I pulled this up today because the name of this ASStroid is SV13. Now, if you've been watching our show, you've heard us talk about the number 17 and how they're using it in their ritual magic with Q. QAnon. The Q is the 17th letter. We discussed this with several people. I think Doug Krieger. We talked about it with several people, man. We talked about what does 17 mean in the scriptures, because God designed these numbers, and he's the one that established them. He's the one that set this clock in motion. Everything about what's happening is God, okay? He said it. They're trying to manipulate and change things, okay? Counterfeit, So when you're seeing cycles, like God in the scriptures, they love cycles. So we're watching cycles happen all the time. What's happening is they're trying to co-opt and take it over, make it working for them, right? So you see some interesting numbers here, and you can understand how things are getting serious when they're trying to project these things into what's our reality, okay? So the number 45, Trump is the 45th president. 45 in reduction is 9. 9, the Falcon 9 rocket with Elon Musk is what's going on right now, the Falcon 9 missions. Okay, those are a whole nother side of black magic. That whole, the dragon and all they're actually putting star systems, artificial star systems up there. And they sent one load of, I think, the 3 loads that they're doing. But I think there's like 64,000 miniature cubes. They're cubes, little squares, black cubes that are mini star system. It's called Starlink, and it's supposed to be like a space fence.
Yeah, but right? I can't. I don't know whether or not they really did that, though. I can't.
No, they did do it. But let me tell you something, Rick. If you go on Elon Musk, let me see if I can do it. You go on Elon Musk's site, they're all low Earth orbit. So they're not in space.
Right. They're just they're at a certain height that they're not supposed to be in, which is
very similar
to the Tower of Babel. They're claiming to they're basically saying that we're mocking God. In other words, we're mocking the order in which he has built for us. We're leaving our domain.
Yes, they're making artificial star systems. They're saying that you can see these things. I mean, they're saying that.
I will say this. I've seen, after the Starlink went up, I went out a couple nights. It was at the night after it went up. It wasn't the same night it went up, but the next night that I went up, I was right here at this property. I walked outside, and there were 10 to 12 that just came across the sky, all in order. And for all I know, I don't know, man, they could have been towing something behind a plane. Seriously.
Yeah.
They could have been.
Or it could be that's what my screen share is. That was something I want to talk about.
You want me to put it up there?
Yeah. This is an artist rendition of the Ophanum, and I actually like this one because it reminds me of the serpent eating its tail. But the Ophanum is an angelic class. They're known as you'll see it in, I think, as Ezekiel, with Ezekiel's wheel is what
the wheel inside the wheel. Yes.
They're covered in eyes, and they're supposedly transported the angels in the description of Ezekiel's wheel.
So a chariot.
Yeah, so we have to remember that.
Oh, breaking up, dude.
a third of the all of the angels of heaven fell, which means a third of these class of watchers fell as well, or these angels. So these could very well be what we see as the wandering stars. When you look up the name Plane, in the Greek, it means wander. So these are things that wander in the sky, and we know from a lot of the occultic materials, things like Solomon's seal and Solomon's square and Solomon's triangle, that they were trying to manipulate and control demonic entities. And if they are doing celestial magic, maybe they have called 10 or 20 of these Ophanum into a line, and they're circumnavigating the planet. That was kind of what I was talking about.
Yeah, for sure, man. Could possibly be. Those look like.
Now, where'd you get that diagram? Because that's
it's something I found online. Somebody created this.
Wow. Well, I can tell you this. I've look, Ian and I, Aaron, I don't think you were out there with us. I don't think you were standing there with the group that I was with, but we saw an orb come through the water at Lake Erie.
Yeah, that was the year before. Yeah. I heard about it, but yeah, I wasn't out there when you guys were. That all happened.
We saw it, and it was more than once, and there were witnesses there. But we also saw things multiple times, what looked like shadows running around the campfire.
Yeah.
So, and people, anyone can say, "Oh, that was the light flicker." No, you don't understand. There were people that saw the same things that weren't even near the campfire. They were back by the cabins. They were seeing the same thing. So there's entities. Look, there's a whole other world going on around us. Even the people that are into the occult will tell you the same thing. Bob Dylan said it the same thing. He says there's a world that there's a chief that he's around, and there's a world that you can't even see, but he's here. There it is.
Hey, let me show you this. I don't know if you've seen this or not, Rick. Have you seen this? Michael Solomon shot Sirius with his P900. And it's super cool.
I was going to say
that, dude.
Yeah. I was going to say if you actually look at real photos of the planets, they look like those.
Yeah, they do.
Not the CGI, pictures of them, but they look like an entity up there with.
Look at this. Watch this thing, man. This is an actual star shot with a P900. This is the problem, guys. For them, technology's catching up. We can see things that we couldn't see before. Their lives worked a lot better. Look at this. This is a star. They're saying this is a rock on fire. Watch the shapes. You will see crazy shapes pop out here that like noticeable shapes. You'll see something crazy here in a minute. You see that? These are magic symbols. They're showing up, dude, in this star. Like if you go slow-mo, you see them full on. But look at it, it's morphing into different things, different colors.
Yeah, but hang on. Ian, let me tell you, because I work with cameras, man, and I can tell you that all that is an out of focus, and it's all got to do with the resolution of the camera itself. Because you can get another camera just like it with the same a zoom lens, and you can actually focus in on it, and that goes away. I know there's different shapes. I mean, that's just like looking at the clouds. I mean, you're going to have to hit each frame by frame, and do that.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, well, I tried to.
I'm just telling you, I've done the same thing with the street light with the P900, just so you know.
Yeah. Well, I've tried to find the actual, some of the major telescopes, that they use, the big, and they try to find real photos. I guarantee you, if you go in Google right now, real photos of planets, and on Google, you're not going to find anything. You're going to find all CGI imagery. I had to go through Bing and then a very specific search to actually find these actual photographs of the planets, and they don't look anything. I mean, they resemble like a fuzzy version of a CGI version of it, but they look similar to what I was talking about with that Ophanum. But yeah, it's interesting.
It's still, regardless, there's still lights up there, and they're moving, and they're wandering stars. None of us are going to know exactly what they are. I am not sold on the P900 star shots or the P1000. You're dealing with a digital lens. You're dealing with something completely. You can't focus it manually, and it's literally it's light trying to come into and trying to make sense of it. And like I said, you can take the exact same star, you can focus in with another camera. Now, is it something with the digital? Is it revealing something? I don't know. I'm not saying these things aren't nefarious or, part of our enemy or whatever. I'm just saying you got to be careful with the P900 stuff, the P1000 stuff, because you can't focus. That's an unfocused. And like I said, I've done the same thing with my P900 with a street lamp. You'll get the same thing. You'll get the same effect, or a city light across a lake. You can get that same effect.
Wow, thanks a lot, Buzzkill.
No,
right.
I'm not trying.
Man?
Hey, Rick, I got a question for you, because this is something that really weirded me out when I first was getting into the FE stuff. When I took we had one of those super moons where it was like on the horizon, it looked huge. And then I would take my camera phone and take a picture of it, you know, and update it on Facebook. And it was like this big, you know, it was like super tiny comparatively. And I'm like, how is that? So I spent like 2 days trying to research why the optical illusion happens with the digital, and I couldn't get any solid answer. Have you had any luck with trying to figure that out?
Well, I know that the problem with trying to do the moon, we don't have the right type of cameras on our phones yet. You're not going to be able to get a good picture of the moon anyway. And most of the time it's going to be out of focus. You're not going to be able to get it to do what you want, especially if you try and zoom in. One of the things I can tell you that happens to me when I'm doing the same thing is it bleeds it out, or it's too much exposure. The exposure's off, and it's the same type of thing that happens when people say that the sun is in the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
It's an exposure. It's exposure, and you know people will fight tooth and nail on this. It's like, man, you can put a solar flare on there, and you'll see, it's not what you're thinking. It's not, and I don't want to say it's a bad argument. It's just you got to keep digging on that, because I'm telling you that the P900. You guys hear that noise?
Yeah.
The slee stacks are here. No, the I don't know what that noise was, but it sounded like somebody just wiped out on a bike outside. So, oh, it's the irrigation system. Sorry, there's the irrigation's going. Sorry, I didn't know what that was. So, but no, the crazy thing is that when you get into lenses and you get into that kind of thing, you've got to really, really be careful with that, because it can discredit you. It can discredit some of the stuff you're doing. And I just highly encourage everybody to double check that on their own. I'm personally, I've done the experiment myself, and I can tell you right now, the P900 stars and all that, to me, no, they're just not focusing. And I've actually personally zoomed in on what they call quote unquote planets. And you can see there's a ring around what looks to be like a ring around Saturn. But to me, it's like, you don't see the other backside of Saturn. You never see the backside of Jupiter. It's the same thing that happens with the moon.
Did you hear?
They're just lights. They're just lights.
Something like a meteor, right? Because they're saying there's a dark cloud or a debris cloud or some crap up there right now, right?
How convenient.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to me, because I'm trying to decipher it as to, we're seeing mass chaos and confusion. We're seeing in the real world, they're saying one thing, doing another. You know what I mean? COVID's dangerous. COVID's not dangerous. Don't wear the masks won't work. Then a week later, they're like, you got to have a mask on. It's like, chaos, right? There's a cloud. It's literally a cloud in people's minds. Like, we don't know what to do. Let's just be obedient. It'll go away, right? So when they say that kind of stuff, and they're like, Earth's moving through a debris field, and a lot of these planets, like Mercury's in retrograde, okay? So Mercury is the messenger planet, okay? Well, not planet, but the messenger god was Mercury, right? Sure. So and there's certain occult families that associate themselves to planets, okay? Now, this is something I talked about with Reynolds for a little bit. His particular family associates themselves with Mercury. So it was interesting that when he fled Colorado, the time frame that he actually left it happened to be during Mercury retrograde, which is supposedly a breakdown in communication. So it's literally like it made sense, right? Like he ended up leaving. He didn't know about that. I told him about Mercury retrograde, and he's like, that's really interesting. But see, these things are not magic. This is how God created it. It's been hidden from us. So we think it's magic. He told us not to use it this way, okay? Because like you said, when we're reading Matthew 10, don't worry about stuff. God has it prepared. He has a word for you in the moment.
We have a job.
Right? We have security in knowing that every need will be met according to his will and his imagination, not ours, right? We're not limited to our own imagination. He's already done it. He's already got it planned. We just need to be obedient, take the first step. Everything's in check. So when we get in our own way, when we try to figure out the plan, right? Or we want to know too much. Like, God, tell me my destiny. Your destiny is to follow him and do whatever he asks you to do, right? You walk right into your destiny. You don't need to. What if he told you, like, well, you're going to get in a couple car accidents. You're going to have 2 illegitimate children. You're going to go to prison for 5 years, but then you're going to be a missionary and you're going to die for me. You'd be like, what? This sucks. I'm not doing none of that, you know?
I didn't sign up for this. I didn't audition. Yeah.
It's like, actually, you did. You actually signed right here to be a living sacrifice. I already own your
right before I put you in the womb, no.
Yeah, it's like you already did sign. You might not remember signing it, but you actually signed it.
I think here let me say this to go back on the star thing real quick, Ian. It says that every star is going to fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also says that men's hearts are going to fail them for fear of what they see coming up on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Now, we're already seeing people scared to death of this teeny tiny little invisible thing that we've been told is a virus. You literally have people, I mean, I know people that I've actually spoke with people that work in the hospitals that have actually said the people that, especially the younger people coming in saying, I think I have the virus. I can't breathe. They're having panic attacks. They were having panic attacks. Panic attacks were on the rise. They've been on the rise. And anxiety and depression. I mean, one thing that people aren't talking about is the suicide rate that's been going on.
Right.
If that's not a man's heart failing to where you just give up, to where you've got nothing left and you want to take your own life, man, I can see it. Things are happening right before us. Now, here's the thing. I've actually seen things myself in the sky that there's no way a man could be in this particular ship or or whatever it was. If it was a ship, like a man-made craft, there's no way that a man can do a right angles at, Mach 9 or whatever, however fast this thing was going.
Yeah, there's no way.
His brains would have come out of his ears. It may have still been in his helmet, but they would have come out of his ears. And I'm telling you, we haven't even scraped the surface of what's up above us, just like we haven't scraped the bottom of the ocean. Just like we've seen, there's an ocean in the ocean. You've seen that before, right? Where they go deep enough, there's actually another layer of water that looks like a lake. So what's the difference up there? One of the things that I wanted to bring about when you were talking about the Navy and it being water up there, one of the things that always got me is in Genesis, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but in Genesis, when it says that God's face moved over the depth of the waters. Now my marker's out. So the water was basically flat, right? Then it says that God took it. And
it says the face of the deep.
The face of the deep. So what is this? It means there's what? Is it deep? This area, whatever it is it deep? Were there borders? Was there this and that? I don't know. All I can do is go by what the scriptures say. What the scriptures say is that he took part of the water here. Of course, this is going to go out. Part of the water's here, and he spread them out like a canopy, right?
Yep.
There's no land yet. There's no land. There's no earth. He did not bring forth the earth yet. So the earth, the water up here, wouldn't you say that it's the same as the water down here? Isn't that the same water? Did it say that he changed the water at all?
Mm-mm.
So the water up here is the same as the water down here, right? So in order for him to bring forth the earth, which is the ground, how would you get that from water?
Well, it says he pressed it.
He what?
He imprinted it or pressed it into the.
No. That's no. For it to become for it to become the earth, for it to become the ground. It says that in the scriptures, in Genesis, it says that he brought forth he brought forth the earth. Well, and if you look that up, it means to gather together and to present. So if that's the case, what do we drink? What do athletes drink when they drink their water? What is it enhanced with?
Minerals.
Minerals. So if you start taking the minerals from this water down here, the same water is up here with all these minerals, and you start taking these minerals out and you start gathering them together to create clumps of minerals, this water down here gets a little bit thinner. Whereas this water up here is still thick with a bunch of minerals in it. And it might perform like that lake in the bottom of the ocean. And it might look a little bit like molten glass because it's thicker. It's coagulated, like blood coagulates when the water is removed from the blood. So when he brought forth the minerals, and this is my because I've thought this long and hard. How did he get the earth? Where does it come from? How did he make dirt? He could easily do it from water. Extract the minerals and bring them together and then stamp it. Then make it to what you want it to be. So now we know that the water up here, not only does it have a lot of minerals in it, but it's also a conductor, which very easily you put Polaris right down the middle. You put the sun with a positive, you put the moon with a negative. Now you've got something that can create a cycle and a circuit that's programmable that he puts into motion himself. Because remember, he said, let there be light before he even made the sun.
Yep.
Right.
These came on day 4. Those came on day 4. So if we really, really look at what's going on here, and he put the sun and the moon in here. Sorry, somebody's messaging me. So if you look at this entire operation here, and nobody knows how deep this goes. Nobody knows exactly what's down here. Just like nobody knows exactly how all of this works. And I think while we're trying to chase our tail, trying to figure all this out and trying to figure out what these stars are and everything else, let's just go by the scriptures. The scriptures say that every single one of these stars is going to fall down to the minerals that he gathered together as continents, as the ground itself. We know that that's what it says. We know that they've taught us forever that they're teaching us this. They're teaching us that it's infinite. It's infinity. It's infinity. It just goes on and on and on and on. I say, no, it doesn't. It's not infinite. It's intimate. He made it very intimate, and it's very easily, that to me explains everything in creation. That, and somebody's probably laughing right now watching this because I got trolls that follow me around every move I make. But all I can tell you is that right there to me makes more sense, that he would actually extract the minerals from the water that was already here, just like the water that's up here that has not changed. And nowhere does it say that water changed up here. It does say indirectly that he gathered the earth from the water.
It's interesting too, because he formed man out of the dust of the earth. So, and that would explain why our bodies are mostly water.
Well, they're conductive. They're conductive. That's why our blood has to have iron in it. That's why we have an electric current in our body. This also is why people should be very skeptical on this hydroxychloroquine. Because the hydroxychloroquine, first of all, hydroxy means water. Hydro, that's water. If you look at chloro, that means green. Pale. Yeah, pale green. And then, of course, equine or queen means horse. So you're going to have people begging. You're going to have people begging for the pale green horse to be put into their body that may have an element in it called a magnet.
Did you watch our last episode?
No, dude.
I've said this before.
Oh, you have? Oh, I didn't know. So no,
you're fine.
It's look, it says in the scriptures that God's going to pour his spirit out over all the nations. There's a reason why people woke up to this flat earth, or quote unquote biblical cosmology, biblical earth, in the last 5 to 10 years. There's a reason why, and what I've noticed is during this whole thing, there's a lot more people coming on board to this. They're waking up to it. They're waking up to the science as being fraudulent. Just like the COVID-19 is nothing more than reality fraud. Well, what's reality fraud? Let's just call it what it is. It's a lie. It's a lie. And God does not lie. Our Father in heaven does not lie. But he has somebody that does. We have a father of lies. And what I can tell you is, no matter what we think, no matter how smart we think we are, we're not smarter than the devil. We're not.
No.
We're not.
Yeah, he's been around for a long time.
He's been planning this a long time, and every time that we think that we've got them all figured out, aha. No, you don't. The only way you're going to figure this out is if the Holy Spirit's revealing it to you, and if God's allowing you to see through the lies and the deception. Proverbs 20:12 says, "The hearing ear and the seeing eye, the Lord hath made even both of them." In other words, when your eyes and ears begin to work, When God turns that switch on, then they're working. Other than that, you're just watching Netflix. You're listening to you're listening to the oldies channel. You're listening to the same records that have been played over and over and over again. Here's the thing. We are at war. It's coming. Whatever happens with these stars, if we're around, if you're around, Ian, if you're around, Aaron, if we're around when the time comes that the stars start to fall from the heights, when they start to come down, we're going to know they're not aliens. We're going to know that there's no such, we already know there's no such thing as quote unquote aliens or extraterrestrials, which that term in of itself is actually kind of interesting, but let's call it for what it is. Science fiction has told us that it's life forms coming from another planet. And we know that the planets are inside this system. We know that the quote unquote planets are nothing more than being right in here. They're right here. I don't know how high up they are. Nobody knows exactly how high up the sun is. Nobody knows that we've never been able to do a trajectory experiment with the moon because the variables of humidity, barometric pressure, particulates in the air, which that goes along with the humidity. There's so many factors. And the whole thing is why are we doing this? Why? We only need this. We only need the scriptures and this. Because we've already shown that water is a natural level. They've been doing it in construction for centuries, thousands of years.
Yeah.
So here we are. We're talking about an asteroid coming in. They're telling us this. Why are we even listening to them?
Right.
Because we already know that they're going to pull some shenanigans, just like the COVID thing.
Right.
And the people that are sitting here banging on the drum for Donald Trump and banging on the drum for Biden. And banging on the drum for whoever else is next in line. Why in the world are we even paying attention to what's going on in Washington? Why are we not doing what Matthew 10 says to do right now? Like I said earlier, I'm just as guilty as the next guy, but I truly believe that's where this is going to have to go. I truly believe this is where we're going to have to cover our homes in prayer. We're going to have to, completely wholeheartedly have our armor on. And what is our armor? Our armor is the word of God and the wisdom that is in there for us. It's also walking in the Spirit. Right now, if we don't see as believers, if we don't shut off, Tiger King or whatever it is on Netflix that people are catching up on, if we don't,
I got one episode left.
There you go. I'm saying if we don't see the seriousness in all this, man, I'm being serious right now. If we don't see this, if we cannot see this and break down this barrier of our own personal lives, and we've been spoiled rotten. I mean. Dude, I not just me. I've known plenty of people. Talk to Skiba about what he's seen when he was in the missions field. I'll never forget. I was in Jamaica, probably back in like 2004, 2005, and maybe a little bit after that. But I was in Jamaica on a missions trip, and we went up into the mountains to a village, and they had this giant circular. I thought it was a swimming pool. I actually, in my head, I'm like, they have a swimming pool up here. That's great. No, that's how they collected their water. That's how they collected their water. And every morning, twice a day, they'd have to go out and make sure, somebody would have to kind of be watching the water from this pool of water that actually was water for 200 people along the mountainside. And they would have to collect dead animals out of it. They would have to literally make sure that they could get the birds that had drowned in it and the rats that had drowned in it and pull them out so that their water wasn't tainted, and get them out as quickly as possible. We don't have a clue what it's like. We can't even fathom what it was like during the Exodus. We can't even fathom what it would be like to depend on God with pillars of fire to get us through the desert, let alone being 40 years inside the desert. Without us bringing our own understanding of God into the picture. I mean, you think about this. Look at the time that we're in right now. How many people think they know God better than they do?
Yeah.
Me. I'm guilty. I really, truly believe. I think I got, at times I thought I've got this figured out. I know this. I know what he's doing. No, we don't. We don't. And we got to be careful with what we fill in our minds with through our eyes and through our ears, because it's going to affect our brain, which eventually affects the heart. And if we don't see what's really going on, if we don't see the real game being played on us, I mean, I can't stand the left and right paradigm. But I also can't stand the Christians versus the Hebrew roots movement and the Jews versus the Muslims and all of this nonsense. It's nonsense. If we don't have a relationship with our Father and worry about that first, it makes me think about this a lot. Where in Matthew 10 it says, don't even get a script together. You can't plan what I've got planned for you. You cannot plan your journey, but you better be willing to take up and bear your cross. You better be willing to die to yourself. You better be willing to not only die to yourself, but bear your cross daily. And I can say this, man, if we don't get on our knees as believers collectively, stick a fork in it. Because they're already look at Australia. I mean, if there's one country that's really close to us as far as our culture, it's Australia. It's Australia.
Yeah. They
had a rough time starting out. America had a rough time starting out. We had to rebel. They were a bunch of prisoners. And nobody knows exactly how a lot of those people got in there. People aren't talking about the orphan trains. People aren't talking about Tatari on a mainstream level. They're not talking about mud floods. They're not talking about technology that was here. They're not talking about giant fossils being found. It's all being hid from us. But yet they're going to root because they moved the capital to Jerusalem because of something that happened in 1948. Not even knowing how it all began, how it all started. This is the problem that we have. We've got to get more and more into our scriptures. We've got to be more and more into prayer. We've got to, in order for us to have our armor on, we have to know the manual, but we have to have a relationship. There's a lot of people, like we were talking about earlier today, Ian, there's a lot of people that have the Bible. They've got it up here.
Yeah. Check this out, Rick.
Up here. Yeah. Sorry. I didn't mean to go off on a tangent.
No, you're good. You're good. Check this out. Look at that. You seen this? The naval station, Howard E. Holt in Australia. And it is a giant hexagram.
There you go.
You see this?
Yeah.
It's a freaking hexagram, which is the Star of David, right? Or the
as above, so below triangles.
Yeah, this is it, man. And it's right there. This is the naval This is the naval station, dude. Navy intelligence magic symbols, right?
There you go.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
they know.
Who do you think's behind all
this? They know.
Who's behind all this?
Yep.
Isn't there a group of people that say they're Jews but they're not, but they're from the synagogue of Satan? Doesn't our Messiah warn us of that type of activity going on?
Yep.
When did we become immune from those people? When I say those people or those principalities, when did we become immune from their warfare working against us? When? Why? Because we had somebody get elected that wasn't part of the system, which most people don't know. The guy ended up getting bailed out a couple different times from somebody that, I don't know, maybe kind of connected to those two triangles, one pointing up, one pointing down.
Oh, my gosh. Look at this, dude. E. Howard Holt identified this potential Air Force space surveillance system, the site for it, in 2011, okay? On December 6, 2013, it was announced that the Space Surveillance Telescope, part of the U.S. Space Surveillance Network, will be relocated to E. Howard Naval Station, right? Or E. Holt, whatever.
You said 12/6, right?
No.
You said December 6th. That's 12/6. That's 2 6s and a 6.
Yeah.
That's 6, 6, 6.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and 2013, that's another 6. So that's reduction gematria. That's another 6. So,
wow.
Yeah. Wow. Well, check this out, though. And it was originally deployed at White Sands Missile Range, okay? And it says, so it was expected to be ready for operations there in 2016. But it has since been announced that DARPA finally handed control over of this secret space surveillance system telescope to the Air Force, and it became operational in 2020.
There you go.
They made it the freaking headquarters, you know what I'm saying, for a Space Force telescope right there in the middle of the freaking magic symbol, as above, so below. I'm telling you, if you don't get it, you better get it.
There you go, man. Look at that.
Yep, it's magic, dude. This is all magic. And here's what I was trying to say in the very beginning. Let's wrap this up, because what's happened is, I'm not going to say that it's a meteor or whatever that's going to hit, right? But they're setting us up for a cover story for the next event. Okay, so
just like Fauci said that the virus is gonna come back in the fall.
Well, here's another thing. So I made a movie called Quantum Illusion 2 years ago. By the way, it's banned from YouTube again.
Of course it is.
In that movie, we talked about the Iron Mountain papers. Okay, Iron Mountain was a meeting that they had a bunch of specialty continuity of government people. They got together in the 70s. They wrote this plan in a bunker, in the Iron Mountain bunker, and it's all about the continuity of government, and it forecasted what their plan was going to be. They said that they made something called the Alternative 3 plan, all this different stuff, but they were going to use climate change, cover as a cover for all this. And so we're seeing now, they're talking about viruses being hatched into our atmosphere from the earth changes, the sudden earth changes that are happening because our pole is shifting. That's what they're saying. They've been talking about this pole shift for a long time. And I believe when they were saying pole shift, what they should have been saying is global reset, because it's God's reset. God's the one that did all this. Like, he's literally, this is a replay of the Exodus journey, right?
Yeah.
Where he shuts down the gods of Egypt and shames them, all right? And then he takes his people out. And that's exactly what he did, right? Whether you choose to see it that way or not, he was asking us to eliminate things that were in our lives that were dividing us from him, right? Separation.
Sure.
And we couldn't do it. So out of his grace, he did it for us, right? We sometimes look at it and we don't like it. We're like, this sucks. The new normal sucks, right? But it's causing us to rely on him because we're in a place of testing. We are in the wilderness.
Yep.
So a lot of people say, in the scriptures, when it says, when you see these things, flee to the wilderness. Okay, that doesn't actually mean go to a national park and hide in the woods. It means rest in the Father.
Yes.
Where you come as a child.
Not go to the most remote KOA you can find.
Right. It means a place of testing is a place of rest, where when you're being led through an unfamiliar territory, you're being guided by somebody, right?
He wants that.
He does. He says, "Come like a child," right? Yep. So one good thing about a kid is they'll do whatever you tell them to do, and they don't even worry about the what would happen, what could go wrong, because they know their dad's there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you have a good father, you know what that feels like, because you're like, oh yeah, I don't care what's going down because my dad can handle it, right? And you don't even think about bad stuff. You're just like, whatever, my dad's got it.
Beat up your dad.
Exactly. We actually can do that. You know what I mean? And this is kind of the theme with everything right now, the identity, because this is an attack on our identity. When they're trying to say we're insignificant and we're in this infinitely ever expanding galaxy, and we're one in a trillion of insignificant little life forms, and that we're meaningless and all this stuff. It's causing division. It's causing this. It's identity theft, right? When we should be knowing that our Father created a specific place for us where everything in it revolves around us and is for us, and he is watching us, and he's, and if we would trust him, we wouldn't have to worry about anything. Like, literally, he says it over and over. Don't do this on your own, right? And our problem is he gave us the ability to choose whether we eat from the tree of life or the tree of knowledge, and we've been choosing the tree of knowledge. And now we're too strong for our own good, pretty much. We can get ourselves out of holes. We don't need to ask our dad. We've believed that whole, well, I'm a man, I shouldn't ask for help, or I got myself into this, I'll get myself out, or whatever, right? Or maybe we're embarrassed, or shame keeps us where we are, right?
One of the things he says, that always comes back with what you're saying is lean not under your own understanding.
Yeah. Yep. Well, we always try to figure out. We're always trying to figure out what it is he's doing, right?
And I get that, but we are supposed to test all things. I mean, look, it's if we focus our energy so much on the things of, what's up there, what's down there, and we're not looking at our neighbors, like you were saying earlier, if we're not getting involved in our neighborhoods or our people every day, or having one-on-one conversations and witnessing the same way that Yeshua did, the same way that Jesus did. I mean, if you look, how many times did he give a Sermon on the Mount? How many times did he have a bunch of people gathered together to give a sermon like that? Most of the time when you're reading the scriptures, it's one-on-one. It's him going to places. And if we're supposed to be the bride of Christ, if we're supposed to be the quote unquote church, collectively, show me where, and this is why, and I'm not knocking churches, but I want to knock on their brains a little bit, and I want you to think about this. It's great to have fellowship, and my wife and I've been talking about this lately. It's like, we got to find somewhere we can get fellowship, because we've really just dropped off the map on that. The problem is we try and go to some of these churches that are there, and it's, you want to stand up and go, that's not what it means, and it's really hard, because you're already the outcast. When God lifts the veil off, and you can actually see through the, the scales are gone, and you're able to actually see things for what they are. There's such a stigmata of preaching, of standing up against a preacher or the words of the pulpit, that you become self-righteous to others. You get labeled, and that's the danger in it. And I guess maybe that's where he's saying, be as wise as serpents, but gentle as doves, because, and shame on me, because I came into this whole show tonight with a little bit of attitude because of just my day today. And it's and how it all started. Taking sales calls from people that want me to advertise on her companies, while they're spreading lies about COVID. It just it drives me nuts. But at the same time, I do feel like we have a righteous anger about us right now. We can see the lies of the adversary. We can see the schemes of the devil himself. We're seeing these things. And the biggest thing that we have to really look at is ourselves first, our own walk first. And there's a reason why I do believe that Jesus said, have one pair of shoes, because you can't wear somebody else's. Right. You can't look at what somebody else is doing and constantly go, but he did this and he did this. And he did. I do that all the time, and I got to quit doing that myself.
Yeah, Paul says it best, is that you could have the tongues of all of the world and of the angels, but if you don't have love, you sound like a clanging cymbal. So you can have the faith to move mountains, but if you don't have love, it means nothing. I could give up everything that I have and die tomorrow. If I didn't have love, it means nothing. That's literally, it means nothing. If we're not doing any of these actions, any of these approaches, the way we deal with people, the way we, there are so many people here and then that's the moves on to the other thing I want to talk about, was the fear aspect of this. Fear is the antithesis of faith. So when you have faith in the Father, and then that he will protect you, just like Jesus said. He said, the birds don't worry about what their next meal is, and the flowers don't worry about how they're going to be clothed. So why would you think any less for God? Right. You're a child of God. You don't think he would give you, when you ask for a fish, that he would give you a snake, or if you ask for a stone, or bread, he would give you a stone. Right. Why would we think that, right? But the whole fear aspect of it is, fear is self-preservation. So when you're afraid of something, you're trying to protect yourself. So now you're elevating yourself above God. So this goes all the way back to the garden. This is the same lie that's been told to us all over and over again. So we have to step away from the fear. All of these things that they're trying to push currently with BLM, with the virus, even on the truther side, there's fear in there. When they're telling you about a vaccination that's going to change your DNA and you're freaked out about it because, well, how am I going to work? Or, if they make me take a vaccine, I'm not going to do it. It's fear. It's like we talked about this many times on our show. It's almost like there's a cauldron of witches, just sitting around a pot, just stirring your fear, just absorbing it and sucking it in like a spell, Yep. And we talked about this with Monsters, Inc. That's how they powered their cities in Monsters, Inc. with the screams of little children. It's all fear. They're telling you, it's right in our face.
That's the free energy. I believe that's the free energy. When they talk about free energy and hidden from us and all that, that is the energy. We are the energy.
Well, they
And
talk about that.
it's easier to induce fear because fear is an energy, right? So it's easier to make fear than it is to make the other kind of energy, right?
They're actually talking about moving that. So right now we're talking about the 5G, the 5th generation Wi-Fi. When they were talking about moving into the 6th and 7th generation, it was a leading scientist that I was studying, of course, when I did my video about the dangers of 5G. And he comes out and he says, we're going to be moving into the 7th generation of Wi-Fi, where we're going to be using our bodies as antennas. And the energy is going to be they're going to harness the energy and emotion in your body to power it. I mean, this guy's literally talking about how they're going to use us. They're not going to have batteries or Wi-Fi towers or anything like that. We're going to be radiating our own Wi-Fi energy, dude. It's crazy.
Because we have electric in our body as it is,
Well, Trump knows this, bro. Let me tell you something about old Trumpity Trump, because a lot of people think he's not. I mean, I don't even know if we've even went this deep on this. I did a video like a year and a half ago on my page where I broke down this whole prophecy thing in Trump, because people said when he was running for president that he's not an insider, okay? But the dude is like best friends with Nixon. He was at the Nixon White House 80 times during Nixon's presidency. That is a lot. I mean, I don't even see my friends 80 times. You know what I'm saying?
How did those two become buddies? Look at the age.
Well, prophecy. That was through the prophecy, wasn't it?
So listen. So Nixon's wife, Pat, was in a dream club with a sorceress lady named Jean Dixon. You can look her up. Okay, she's like the astrology girl of the stars, right, back then, and she served 3 presidents. Okay, so if you think presidents don't have sorcerers and magicians, you're wrong. Because this one's well known, and she served 3 presidents, and she's got a Wikipedia page. Okay, when they say she has served them in the White House, okay, that's what that means, right? She is called upon. Okay, so they're absolutely doing this. It did not go away when the Old Testament turned to the New Testament. Okay, so anyways, she's in a dream club. This lady has a vision, and she tells her that Donald Trump will be a president when he decides to run. Okay, he will win. So this happened in like 1986, I think. And here's the deal. So Pat tells her husband, obviously. Well, then Nixon, he knows of Trump because Trump's just a rich kid, right? Right now, he's not Donald Trump yet in 86, right? He's his dad's money. He hasn't been a developer. He hasn't done anything yet, but he's a rich kid with money and ties and connections. Well, the connections originally came from his uncle, okay? So his uncle, if you're familiar with MJ-12, you've heard of that? The Majestic 12? Mm-hmm. The whole alien, science lab and all that stuff. Majestic 12, the Council of 9, all these people. So there was a guy named Vannevar Bush who was the head of that. And John Trump, Donald Trump's uncle, was his protege. And when the FBI decided they wanted to confiscate Tesla's paperwork after his death, John Trump was the guy they gave it to. So John Trump was supposed to go through Tesla's research and search out these different things that he had supposedly created, like something called the death ray and some other different things. And of course, he did the research and came back and said, no, he didn't find anything. Of course, he didn't find anything, right? So the guy's notes were completely useless. That's what we're supposed to believe, right? But anyways, so in one of Donald Trump's books, he mentions that his uncle and he and his uncle had an excellent relationship, that his uncle told him about nuclear before it was called nuclear and other cool things, he said, right? So you know how Trump is. He's telling you, like he even said recently, I know a lot of people. I know people that kill people. Why would you say that? This guy is like, he's like no weird. Filter. He just says, I know a lot of friends that kill people. Okay.
Remember what I was talking about that study about people that 30% of the population don't realize that they have an inner monologue. I feel like Trump is one of those people, like, cause he just says whatever comes to his head. Like,
dude, he does. He literally says a lot of stuff. He's even called out invisible aircraft and things. Like he was talking to the lady from Lockheed Martin and he kept saying, you have an invisible plane. I hope it's invisible. We just paid a lot of money, and it's supposed to be invisible. And he's like telling the generals, hey, have you met her? And he calls her Miriam Lockheed. Like, he didn't tell her. He just calls her last name is Lockheed. That's who she works for. Miriam Lockheed. She has invisible planes, you know. But, you know, it's like he's just a weird dude, man. But the thing is, he's not like in that note. So Nixon writes him a letter after this dream thing, and he writes him a letter, and it says, "Dear Donald, so and so had a dream, and she predicted that you would be president when you decide to run." So then, after Nixon, he gets out of office, he buys a home in New York City, right, like a block away from Trump, and they become.
What's the guy's name?
Richard Nixon.
Oh, Nixon. Okay.
Yeah, he's like really close with Donald Trump. And here's the deal, though. So Donald Trump puts that note on the desk in the Oval Office, and you can look this up in the Washington Post and the some other, like the Times. They on the inauguration day, he showed the letter. It's framed, the Dear Donald letter from Nixon, where in '86 they prophesied he would be president.
Yeah,
okay?
he was talking about being president. He was talking about being president all the way back in the late '80s, early '90s.
Well, yeah, Oprah Winfrey. He was on Oprah's show talking about it.
Yeah.
Here's a guy that really that I've seen pop up on the radar here recently. Are you guys familiar with a guy by the name of Sheldon Adelson?
Sheldon Adelson. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about him? What do you mean he's popped up on the radar?
Well, I just kind of look him up and look who he's tied to and how tight he is with somebody. Huh?
Sheldon Adelson is the game guy from Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, Donald Trump's a Vegas guy, and sport book betting. This was all in that thing that I presented at the conference, or the thing about death pool betting and all kinds of stuff. Sheldon Adelson, he owned the top floors of the Vegas shooting hotel. That hotel.
Yeah.
Sheldon Adelson, and then he also got the legislation to put in all those metal detectors in all the facilities. He also owns a medical detector company. So he like pretty much caused the shooting or allowed it or whatever, and it made him a profit in return. Yeah, they're all corrupt, dude.
It's yeah. I mean, look, it all goes back to this place that seems to be very real. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, we got Maxwell all tied back there too.
it's all
So.
look.
Well, it even gets even crazier if you go down that rabbit hole when you start looking into the Maxwell family line and who all they're tied to Mossad, and you have Epstein, and then when you find out that the Vegas shooter, his brother got arrested after the shooting for child pornography, and those two brothers were tight knit. Like, I mean, this is something that I've been saying for a long time. I think they've been using not only the child, because it's a billion-dollar industry, multi-billion-dollar industry for the child pornography, but then the FBI, CIA, and all those for all these shooters and stuff. It doesn't have to be MK Ultra. They grabbed somebody. I would say they grabbed.
He wasn't. There was no shooting from the
window. No. Listen.
Hold on. There were multiple shootings going on, but you guys know that there was a failed attempt on a hit on a Saudi prince.
Right. But what I'm saying is what they use these people for is for patsies. Right. They collect people who
just
are
like the celebrities, just like they're doing with the celebrities right now. The ones that have been involved with the adrenochrome and everything else. They're just going to be their little, sorry, but they're little sacrificial lambs when it's all said and done.
But they take these people who are harboring child pornography and stuff and passing it around. That's why all of these shooters had visits from FBI or CIA beforehand. And then they take them and they say, look, here's, you guys want to go to jail, or you want to, take this gun and then go wait for a police officer to come and arrest you. I really honestly think, and then they off most of them because, they're unstable or whatever.
The guy, so listen, the guy that shot that judge's husband and son?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did they ever find him?
He's a lawyer they said he worked for them and he was a disgruntled employee or whatever, or like a lawyer that had a beef with the judge, right? No, he was an agent and he was in Ukraine and he worked for a Belgian bank. Okay. So like there's all this stuff and it's like he he didn't do it. He just happened to be somebody they needed to eliminate, right? Because all this banking information is now, it's hot commodity, right? They're trying to get a hold of this. So this was a way to kill two birds with one stone, right? We're like, hey, we need to make this judge, work for us, but we can make this guy disappear because they didn't find him they said he was dressed as a UPS driver, yet he wasn't wearing it when they found the body. They happened to find the UPS uniform in his house. And he doesn't work for them. So they assumed he did it because they found him dead with a bullet in his back of his head. They said it was self-inflicted suicide, which that doesn't happen, right? Dude, it's so many stupid things, but like this is how they cover things up,
It's the media, man. The media is their tool.
Yeah.
That's
It's just because you believe what the Black Mirror tells you. Yeah.
Yeah. We wouldn't be talking about it. We wouldn't even all probably know each other if it wasn't for the media. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it really is insane, dude. But once you see it, you see it. You can't unsee it, dude. And people ask us, why are we high strung? It's because it's annoying. It's annoying to see stuff all the time, dude.
You know what this is? You know what we're going through? We're going through a pestilence.
Yeah.
This is scripture coming. I mean, the scripture's alive and well. I mean, we're literally going through a pestilence. A lot of people relate a pestilence to the plague. No, it says there's going to be plagues and pestilence.
Well, I also feel like we're in a famine of truth.
That's right.
So, like, I mean, there is a complete lack, and they're hacking our reality. Everything that we see is fake. I mean, Hollywood is. I mean, it's in our news, it's in our radio, it's in our music. It's just meant to create and build. And when I studied psychology and learning about child psychology. And how we as parents build a reality, a framework, the four walls of structure for a child to live the rest of their life. When you understand like that, that's how that's why kids when they're so close to God, as Stephen says, we have to go back and be like kids because their faith is unwavering. Their love is untethered. I mean, they're fantastic if they're raised properly. You know what I mean? But we get this reality change that everybody's shoving. You have to follow this script. You have to do this. I mean, school is a complete indoctrination. It's all about conformity and following this. I mean, I like the way Einstein put it. He said like school testing and stuff is like going to a zoo and trying to figure out which animal can climb a tree the best. And you've got elephants and eagles and snakes. Each one of them is going to so that the school system, the way the conformity is completely wrong. It judges people on a set standard, but it's crazy. I mean, I don't know. I'm just tired of everything. Like you walk around and that so many people ask about conspiracies. Like, how can you believe conspiracies? Like, well, when you find out one and it leads to the next one and to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, and they all link together. I mean, how can you not?
Well, the beautiful thing is it says in the last days, it says that, God says, I will pour my spirit out over all the nations.
Yeah.
Well, that means everywhere. And if that is the case, what is the spirit of the Father?
The spirit of truth.
Spirit of truth.
Yeah.
So the people that came into the flat earth movement, that came in through, whether it was YouTube, whether it was guys like you said with Eric Dubay, whether it was Mark Sargent's Flat Earth Clues, whether it was Rob Skiba's information, because some people may have been looking at Nephilim stuff, Hollow Earth stuff. I mean, whatever people were looking into, for whatever reason, they were hungry and they weren't afraid to look at this fringe information. It's something motivated them, and it's kind of what I talked about at Take on the World, not this year, but last year. Was I had my series, the thing that I talked on it was called And Action. And it's God is the one that puts it on us and puts it on our heart. He's the one that moves on us. And what we do with that, he's going to get us to where he wants us to go. I do believe that. I believe he who begins a good work shall finish it. So when we look at this and we see, like you were saying, Aaron, all the fear and all this stuff, it all ends when faith begins. It all goes away when the fear goes away. And when you have the spirit of truth in you, And this is what I was going to with all the people that woke up to flat Earth that didn't even know who, they probably hadn't even never really studied who Jesus was. They just heard it, and somebody that was supposed to be a Christian probably did something to offend them, or some preacher probably did something, or they turned on the TV and saw these televangelists asking for money. It turned them off. And one of the things I always want to remind folks, especially if there's anybody watching it that's maybe doesn't even believe in flat Earth, and they maybe don't like the name Jesus, they don't even like the whole concept. I can tell you right now, if you've allowed somebody else to keep you away from it, you've done yourself a very big disservice. Because if you're not understanding the divisive nature of the adversary himself, then how can you even understand the war you're in if you don't understand the enemy? And that's where we're really at. We have to understand that we have an enemy that's been hard at work since the beginning, since the garden, and he hasn't gotten his yet, but it's coming. And the whole reason why he hates us so much is because when God presented him, and remember, everything in Scripture, everything in Genesis, God spoke into existence except two things, from what I understand. And please, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But there's only two things that God was hands-on with that he made. And one was Adam, and the other was Eve. We are literally the potter's clay. He literally made Adam. And every breath came from that first breath that God put into Adam's body. That breath started all of it. Your first breath, my first breath, everybody's first breath that they took came from that first breath that God breathed into his clay that he made by hand, and everything else he could speak into existence. That's the power of God. That's the power of the nature of our Father, of our Creator. We can't wrap our minds around anything else other than what he's left for us as our manual to test all things, test it in the spirit, look at it for what it is. If you're caught up in the paradigm and saying, oh, we're going to make America great again, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Look, I'm not saying there aren't wonderful people in the United States. I'm not saying there aren't wonderful people in Australia. I'm not saying there aren't wonderful people in China. I'm not saying anything. What I'm telling you is that we have to do it his way. And I guarantee you there aren't going to be national flags flying in the kingdom.
Right.
Not going to be that. And he says, those who try and hold on to their life, try and save their life, shall lose it. So if we're literally trying to save all our American way of life, and there's already a game plan in motion, and there's a system that none of us control. None of us control it. Now we can pray against the enemy. We can pray, like you were talking about earlier, Ian. We've got an opportunity to pray against these things and knock these things down and do this and this and this. But if we're going out on our own without God leading us and without the Holy Spirit behind the movement that we're making, we are literally doing it on our own, and God's going to allow us to be chastised if we belong to him.
Yeah, and I'm going to skip to the end because, listen, in Revelation it says that the authority is given to the beast to make war on the saints, right? And it says he makes war on the saints, and they are given over to him, to death, right? So, guys, the beast system comes. It's real. We're given over to it, and it slays us. I mean, we pretty much die. But here's the good news, right? We already died technically. When you gave your life to Christ, you died. Your body does not belong to you. It belongs to him. So whatever he chooses to do with it is completely fine because you made a bargain, right? We've traded
covenant
this life for the next. So this is what, I was watching a documentary about, like what I mentioned this before, the underground church movement in Iran and how it's run by women. And it was just amazing because, like, in a Muslim nation, these women would be raped and brutally murdered and stuff if they were caught, okay? And the way that these women justified it was, I don't own my body. If Christ asked me, or, I pretty much gave up my right to say anything about it when I, took the keys to the kingdom, right? So if all I have to do is forgive after I'm raped, I can do that. Like, because it's not my body anyways. And I'm like, I can't even identify with that kind of love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just about thinking about having to love that hard, you know? Like, that just makes me mad. But like the way that they said it was just like, you know, it's happened before, it'll happen again. Like, you know, it is what it is. This body doesn't belong to me. And you're like, my goodness. I don't know, man. Like you said earlier, none of us know anything. None of us are hitting the mark. And, you know,
Well,
man,
not completely. It takes all of us to put our minds together, and that's what Jesus says: go out and make disciples of men, to his own disciples.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that we're not doing everything we could be doing. You know, a lot of us are doing stuff, but we can all do better. We can all step up. We can all, you know, and it does. You know what we said before. In order to change your heart, you have to change your mind about something first. So,
and what does the word repent mean? When Jesus says repent, it means to begin to think differently.
Yep.
Think differently.
And so that's why it says repent and turn away. So you have to think differently, then 180 and walk the other way from that previous thought process.
Absolutely. Yes.
And that's why
that's hard.
Lot's wife looked back, right? She didn't turn completely. She looked back and she got stuck, right? And like that's the thing. Like, what'd you say?
I said because her heart was still there. She didn't.
Right, her heart was still there, right? And that's the thing. Like, man, I mean, I know we gave up a lot. We're going to give up even more, and yeah, it sucks. But man, once you wrap your mind, it's like, you know, Jamie Walden said this. Remember, he was talking about soldiers when they go to battle, right? When they're in the armor car or wherever they are, when they're in the plane flying over to the front lines, they're so freaking nervous. They haven't been to war. They're new, you know, they've been trained for war, but they've never seen action. They're so nervous and everything, right? As soon as the bullets fly, it's muscle memory. And they just go. And then once you can tell when a soldier's been in action, because he doesn't have the jitters. They know, they love that feel, the operation. Like you talk to these Navy SEALs or you read their books. Like I read multiple books by these guys, and they're freaking amazing dudes. They, you know what I mean? They do some amazingly ridiculous human feats of just, you know, it's amazing. The way their mind is so just, you know, it's unbelievable. But they train for that, and then they long for it, that feeling, because they don't feel whole unless they're doing that action. You know what I mean? And like we need to get there, man. We need to start. And a lot of us have been training forever, and we've never actually seen action. We never went out and did anything. And that's when you really learn, right? That's when you really put it to the test and you understand like your physical limits to your body. Like if you didn't go through boot camp, you would probably not know the limits that you could take your body to, right? That's the whole point. They want to change your mind. Yeah, they're changing your mind about what you think you can do. You know what I mean? Yep. And that's all part of the process. Well, we're going through that right now, and you know, and it looks different for each different person and their scenario. But like that's where we come in as brothers and sisters to encourage one another, and especially where it says the blood of the Lamb and the word of your testimony is the key, because my testimony could uplift you, right? Or maybe somebody else I meet is going through the same things that I've gone through. I can identify with that and I can speak directly to it, you know, like, hey, I've been exactly where you are and let me give you some encouragement. You know what I mean? That's what it's all about. But if you don't get to know people, you don't know, you know,
well,
you never.
And I think Aaron said it just a little bit ago, or maybe it was you and I can't remember now. Your beards are confusing me. But you said it's about the love. It's about having a love that only the Father can give. If we can absorb that and be forgiving and to seek forgiveness, to be able to go and ask for forgiveness is literally a gift. It's a gift because we all have pride. The flesh is cursed. The flesh is cursed. And, you know, when Jesus said, go out, make disciples of men, and he's telling everybody to repent, and he's giving us the playbook, he's giving us the manual. We were born into a fallen culture. We were born into a fallen nation. We were born into a fallen world. And, you know, it's just going to get bigger and more advanced as we go. So before we end this tonight, I just really want to encourage everyone to dig deeper, including myself, including everybody. Dig deeper. Seek his face. Seek what he would have you do. Go to your closet like he told them to do. Go to your closet. Go to a place where you can shut the world out. Shut your phones off. Shut your tablets off. Shut your world away for just a time. And don't be wordy in your prayers. He already knows your heart. But he says, my sheep will hear my voice. He already knows what's ailing you. If he knows a sparrow's going to fall out of the sky before it does, he already knows your heart. He already knows what he's been putting you through. He's wanting you to come to him. And if you've been on that fence where, man, jump over it. Yeah, you might get caught by a barb here and there on the wire, but get over the fence. Jump off of that fence and get busy. And it's not about your works. Faith without works is done. Works without faith is done. Neither one of those things are going to get you in by themselves. You've got to be proactive in the time now. You've got to be proactive in your faith. You've got to be proactive in your works. We've got to do these things. And, like I said, I'm saying this to myself as much as I'm saying it to anybody else. This is a time where we are being tested. Sorry, I didn't realize I shut my camera. We're at a time right now where we are literally being set up with the algorithms, with everything else. Look, they already got all your Facebook information. They've already got all your phone calls. They've got everything that you've been doing. They know exactly what you like to buy through Amazon. They know exactly what you like to get through eBay. They know exactly what you've been getting on your credit cards at the grocery stores.
I know your porn browser history.
They've already got you figured out better than you've got yourself figured out through their algorithms, through everything else. And the whole thing is who cares? Who cares? We can't worry about it anymore. And yes, it is a pain in the rear end to try and go somewhere when they're telling you, sir, do you have a mask? And I always say, no, I'm exempt. And I just keep walking. I'm exempt. Health issues. I'm allergic. I tell people now, I'm just telling them, I can't wear one. I'm allergic to carbon dioxide. That leaves them. People are like, what? Well, then, and it makes them think they're going, well, so am I. So am I.
I want somebody to come up and say something to me, and I'll be like, look, I don't care about your laws. I'm one of the criminals they let out from the jail at COVID-19.
So our mayor passed a law in our state or in our city that says that it's illegal to commit a crime wearing a mask. So I just tell them I'm about to steal something.
Hey, you can go to Lowe's and do that. They're not allowed to do anything.
Oh, yeah, most of the places here, they don't.
It's crazy.
Except for Menards and Goodwill, for whatever reason.
Dude.
Hey, Jamie Walton said he almost got arrested.
Really?
What happened?
Jamie Walton said he almost got arrested at Menards. Remember, he was telling us that they called the cops on him?
Yeah.
And he wouldn't put the mask on?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're Nazis there, man, for sure.
Yeah. For sure, man. Well, hey, it's been an awesome show. Glad you got to come and hang out with us, man.
I'm humbled and honored. Like I told you, man, I was just kind of praying last night, spending my own little time here, getting a lot of stuff done. And just while I was working, I didn't have anything on. It was just quiet. And I was just really in deep thought and kind of in and out of prayer and having that conversation with God, and it's not like I hear him go, well, Rick, you must do this. And Rick, I'm just pouring my heart out.
He doesn't sound like that. He sounds like this.
Like elbow.
At least to me, it's like, hey, man, what are you doing? I'm like, trying to break you, man.
Oh, my God. Yeah, but the coolest part about it is that I'm literally thinking about this last night, and I'm building this whole studio, this whole thing that I've been putting together. It's to come kind of back out of the whole broadcast, so quote unquote retirement, and start doing something and being proactive the best that I can. And for you to call me first thing this morning, pretty much, as my day really got jump started, that was the first call I got, just really blows me away, and I'm humbled by it. So it's just confirmation to me that God's God's working on so many people right now. And that's the other thing I want to mention real quick before we go is, you know, he is so faithful. And I have friends that have been in this flat earth community that, when I say community, I hate using that word, but in the whole knowledge of being risen up, there's a cluster of people that I've been a part of their lives, or they've been a part of my life. And I can tell you that there are so many of them that have come to know the sovereignty of God, that he exists, that he actually made this place, that he is true, that there is a creator. And praying that more would expand on that knowledge and to pick up the word and the scriptures and to read and to pray and to literally humble themselves before him. I can tell you that there are a couple, when I say, if you want to say big names, I mean, they're kind of big names that, especially one of them that really comes to mind that just captured my heart, for her to tell me that she believes that Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, is her Messiah. For somebody to say that, and for somebody to come to me and say, look, I just wanted to let you know, thank you for sticking by me, and thank you for encouraging me. Thank you for giving me the information I needed and being real about it. I think that's what we really need to focus on, is that we don't know who the next person is that's going to come across our path. And if we do this the right way, if we can stick to our guns, like, Jesus says use a plainness of speech, but that doesn't mean you have to be a jerk about it. Because, and on this final note, when he says, we have a sword, it's our tongue. And if we can speak the truth, and if it cuts somebody, if it cuts deep on somebody, yeah, it's a wound, but you can't candy coat it after that. You can't stuff cotton candy into that wound. They're going to get gangrene and die. You've got to keep pounding them with the truth. You've got to keep giving them that salt. And if you can be the salt of the earth, and if you can tell them the truth with your tongue, and you just keep coming back, like you were saying, I think, Ian, you were telling first, look, Ian's Sleepy Joe right now. Look, Ian's Sleepy Joe. He's falling asleep. Look, he's already out. He doesn't even know what I'm talking about.
He's got to snore.
Yeah, you would know if I was out, man. Although, I am going to say,
Ian
I got to
Biden,
wake up in 2 hours.
I know, Ian Biden, I'm really sorry. But, but no,
does not have a YouTube channel. He's a loser.
Dude, you did that at the lawn chair. Take on the world, did you? But basically, what I'm saying is, man, is if we can just keep pouring on the salt, keep telling the truth, be good about it, be humble about it as much as you can, but still be confident. We have every right to be confident. We have every right to be confident about our King. We have every right to be confident about what his promises are. We have every right to be confident about the historical relevance of our scriptures. We have every right to be confident about the instruction of our scriptures. We have every right. We not only do we have a right, we have a duty. We have a duty. And we have a duty to love these people. We have a duty to love our enemies and pray for them. Remember, when he's up like this, he says, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. People have been brainwashed, man, about COVID. We can't get mad at the mask wearers. But what we can get upset is that the truth is right there. It's available. We can get mad that people are blind. We can be upset at that to a certain extent. Although, it's kind of God's decision, isn't it? Isn't he the one that's kind of in charge of opening up eyes and ears? So I need to be careful with my attitude. Just all we can do is just keep praying, guys. But let's, you guys end the show however you want it to. But I want to make sure that I said that, because that's the most important thing, is that we've got to keep a loving image for others to see him working through us.
Yeah, amen. Yeah, and we all the other thing to just be aware of is that Ian said this. I think it was on our Take on the World SITREP, was that our neighbors and stuff, although our friends and family, all the people that are unsaved, unbelievers that are around us, they're watching our every move. And it's important that if we're going to walk, we don't know, we're not using God's name in vain, that we're not walking, carrying his banner, doing things that are ungodly. So, we can't be enveloped in fear. We can't be caught up in the lies. You know, we have to be truth, and we have to be light bearers to all those people that are around us. So we just have to make sure, you know, that we're on point with that the best that we can. I mean, we're all human, but you know, we are a physical representation of our Creator here on earth. We're supposed to mimic our Messiah, and that's how we're gonna get people over to the other side. Is the change has to happen with us first, and then we will be the light to other people.
Yeah, man, get those baskets filled now.
Yeah. It's all worth it. If I mean, you know, the first time, I don't know if you guys ever take anybody through deliverance or went through any of those, the first person, you know, that you have as a convert, that, you know, you see the physical change in them, man, it makes you just want to go, well, I want to hit this person and this person, and I got this family and this person, you know. So yeah, you got to make the first steps in faith, and then you're going to just, you know, that's the miracles is what builds the rest of, you know, your boldness. So we're going to see more of that coming as the world gets crazier. God's going to call us to do greater things. So we just got to walk in that and have faith in that. Not be afraid.
Be ready, be prepared, and be willing.
Amen.
Let me close this in prayer.
All right.
Father, we thank you so much for the ability to be able to do this online again. God, we know that we're not guaranteed that this is going to last us, Lord. So we want to make sure that we are taking advantage of every opportunity we have to spread the good news and to encourage each other, lift each other up. Lord, we know that there is people in the background that are plotting and scheming to end us. Father, I pray that you would reveal yourself to them in a way that they have never known you, and change hearts and minds. And Lord, I pray that you would lead each one of us further into relationship and into truth with you, and help us to be able to disciple someone this week. Lord, bring people to us. Lord, we help us to be aware of our surroundings and the promptings and the voice of your Holy Spirit, so that we don't miss opportunities this week. And Lord, whatever the future holds, whatever the dark schemes, whatever the magic that's being performed, I pray that you would just make us vigilant watchmen and help us to walk in power and authority through the blood of Yeshua. And Lord, make us ready to stand and intercede on behalf of those that are blind in this season, God. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Hey, real quick, Father, real quick, I just want to reach out to everybody that's been watching today or catching up later on a later time with this. I just encourage all of them, just pray over Ian. I want to pray over Ian and Aaron, both guys weren't always walking on the walk, just like all of us. And I just want to just a prayer for them to continue their outreach, a prayer for their families, and all of their friends and others that they've come in contact with, Father. And I just pray you use these men, that you raise these young guys up to just do wonderful battles for you and for the kingdom, that we live for the kingdom now, that we would actually do these things in solidarity with your ways. And I just want to pray, Father, for your will to be done in all things, that your will is what is best for, eternity. And we also want to put a special prayer out there right now for those that are going through suffering, for the orphans, for the widows, for those that are helpless. Father, I just pray you put somebody in their path that can show them who you are, reveal to them who you are, that the Holy Spirit would be around them. I pray for angels of protection around those folks, around those young ones, and of course around these two guys right here. I pray for that for their families right now, and for anyone out there that's going through any type of ailing, whether you're elderly or whether you're just going through some sickness. I just pray for some healing right now over you, and that you would receive that you would get that, and we just do that in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, guys.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're glad to have you, Rick. We'll have to get you back on here soon.
Definitely. Well,
Hey,
we're
guys.
all so close. We're not that far apart, guys.
Yeah,
We're really
that's true.
not. Aaron, I think you're only 2 hours away from me.
Yeah. I'm only 2 hours away from Ian, so
Yeah.
Yeah,
we got
we get together quite regularly.
Yeah, we got it anyway. It's just the problem is when I get with Ian, we don't sleep.
Yeah, I know.
All night
I'll be sleeping now. I'll be sleeping.
except when we're on a show.
So we go live, I'm out like a light. No. All right, guys. Hey, I will upload that SITREP that we did for the conference, and it'll be on there. So it won't be live, but it's funny. You'll like it.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, we love you guys. And if you were watching, remember, you guys are part of the resistance. We'll see you again.